I'm still alive. The blood loss was immense. He knew it. The fact that he remained conscious at all was nothing short of a miracle. Yet even so, surrender was not an option. His duty was unfinished. Though his sight wavered and pain had long since dulled to nothingness, he clung to the one truth that mattered. He was not dead, not yet. You're a fool. The voice was steady, icy, unforgettable. Time has worn you down. You've lost the edge that once defined you. 1,000 years ago, you stood at the summit of power, but now you're just a hollow shadow of the man you were. I'm still alive. With a burst of will that defied reason, his right arm lunged forward, gripping his opponent's ankle with all the power he could still muster, bones creaking under his grasp. He didn't even feel the pain when his arm was severed cleanly at the elbow, leaving him utterly defenseless. That same voice echoed again, calm and cruel, while he could only watch helplessly as a radiant blue glow flared before him. Even in his weakened state, he knew what it was, a devastating strike aimed to erase him entirely. So this is where it ends. As the light neared, he finally shut his eyes, accepting the silence that awaited him. How ironic. When the explosion struck, his existence was obliterated. All that remained was a shattered, blackened blade, silent proof of his fall. You may open your eyes now. Genryusai Shichikuni Yamamoto, once the captain commander of the Godai 13, awoke in confusion at the sound of that voice. He found himself seated within a room built in an oriental style, a polished table of dark wood before him, and a single parchment on the wall displaying one large kanji, order. You look unsettled, the room's other occupant remarked while pouring tea into 2 cups. That's to be expected. The dizziness will fade soon. Yamamoto's eyes focused on the man and widened. Ikaib Hayasub. What happened? Ikaib smiled faintly as he slid a cup toward him. Iwatch happened. You fought him, or rather, you battled a Quincy who carried his likeness. When the true one revealed himself, he struck you down almost instantly. The Soul King himself confirmed it. Yamamoto hid his turmoil behind a stern expression, but when he looked down, surprise overtook him again. His arms were whole. Moving his left arm, he found no weakness, no pain, nothing amiss. How is this possible? The Soul King, aided by the Zero Division, reconstructed your body and anchored your spirit, Ikaib explained, sipping his tea. Your death occurred only yesterday. That made restoration manageable. And why would the Soul King bring me back? Does he wish for me to face Iwatch again? Yamamoto's tone was steady now, ready for whatever command awaited him. But Ikaib shook his head. No. Your time as a warrior is finished, Genryusai. The Soul King revived you for a different reason, one equally grave. There is a new disturbance, one that could rival our war against the Quincies. What kind of disturbance could be that dire? Ikaib's eyes gleamed. Tell me, what do you know of the cycle of souls? That the Soul King maintains the balance, Yamamoto replied. Without his control, the world's soul society, Huko Mundo, the human world, all would collapse. Correct, Ikaib nodded. But you are unaware of the greater truth. The Soul King oversees not just our realms but countless others. In fact, he is not the only Soul King in existence. Many worlds have their own. When a world's population of souls grows too vast, another Soul King assumes guardianship, ensuring the flow remains stable. To each realm, a Reaper, a Shinigami, is appointed to guide spirits toward the proper cycle. These guardians differ from us, their forms shaped by their worlds. Yamamoto's brow furrowed. So this disturbance involves one of them? Indeed, the Reaper of another world has fallen under human control. They are forcing it to manipulate souls, reviving the dead, body and spirit alike. The former Captain Commander's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Resurrection is one thing, but to command souls themselves defies the natural order entirely, Ikaib finished. A soul that has already been reincarnated should be beyond all influence. Yet these humans have discovered a way around that law. From what we've learned, they are not truly restoring the dead, but creating replicas. Copies. This threatens the cycle itself. Yamamoto's gaze turned grim. If that continues, the flow will stagnate. No souls will move forward. Precisely. Thankfully, not all humans support this. Those untouched by the practice still live and die in balance. That gives us a narrow chance. And that is why you've been revived, to end this corruption. The origin of it lies within your former world. My former world, Yamamoto echoed, disbelieving. Ikaib smiled faintly. Perhaps previous world is more accurate. You were born here as Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto, but before that, in another life, you were a young man named Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki. Naruto, the name stirred no memory. It's natural not to remember. Each soul's rebirth wipes away its past. Ikaibe reached for his massive brush. But that's easily corrected. He drew two kanji across Yamamoto's chest plate, Uzumaki Naruto. Before Yamamoto could question him, waves of memory surged through his mind. Visions flooded in painful, vivid, real. A roaring waterfall. A boy with black hair and wings shaped like hands standing across from him. Agony lanced through his chest, and everything bled red. Then he was above that boy's body, the life gone from it, his enemy, his friend, dead by his hand. Pain struck again, and darkness claimed him. Now he knelt in a crowded square, bound by wooden restraints. A blonde woman's cold gaze pierced him. Uzumaki Naruto, for killing Uchiha Sasuke, you are sentenced to death. A white-haired man stepped forward, carrying a stone blade. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, Gaki. The blade fell. Silence. Oblivion. What was that? Yamamoto gasped, clutching the table with one hand, the other covering his face. Your former life, Ikaibe said softly. Normally, I would need my Shikai and Bankai to grant someone a new name. But to restore an old one, this was enough. What you saw were the memories of Uzumaki Naruto, the life you lived before becoming who you are now. I was executed by Iro Sennin. The old nickname slipped naturally from his lips. And I killed Sasuke, my own comrade. Yes, the demon sealed inside you overwhelmed your control. In that frenzy, you ended him, Ikaibe confirmed quietly. Yamamoto stared down at his hands. Even then, I was a monster. Not entirely, Ikaibe replied. There's something else you never knew. He stroked his beard, then added calmly, you were betrayed. What? Yamamoto blinked in disbelief. What did you say? Well, maybe betrayed isn't the right term. It's more accurate to say you were used or sacrificed if you prefer. What are you getting at, Hyasube? I killed Uchiha Sasuke, and that's why I was executed. That's true, Ikaibe replied, meeting Yamamoto's eyes directly. But that was only a small part of a much larger scheme, one crafted by someone who should have been long dead. Your own father, Namikaze Minato, orchestrated everything, even your death. The former captain commander stood silent, scanning Ikaibe's face for signs of jest. Finding none, he finally asked, how? It was a short question, but the answer was anything but simple. Ikaibe, prepared thanks to the Soul King's intervention, began to explain everything he knew. On the night you were born, as you're aware, the Nine Tails was unleashed. What you don't know is that until that moment, the beast had been sealed inside your mother, Uzumaki Kushina. When your father made the choice to bind the fox within you, he used an untested technique, one that summoned the Shinigami of that world, a being whose power slightly exceeded the fox's. Using this method, Minato split the Kyubai's chakra into two halves. He sealed one within himself and the other within you. The part inside you was sealed with the Shinigami's mark, and the one within him through a new seal of his own creation. The Shinigami's ritual demanded Minato's soul as payment, but one of his most trusted shinobi completed the sealing in his place, offering his soul instead. Kushina died soon after, her body unable to endure the extraction, while your father fell into a deep coma caused by the strain of the fox's power. Normally, only an Uzumaki could survive hosting the demon, but Minato's seal was strong, and since he carried only half the beast's chakra, he lived. Your mentor, the man you called Iro Sennin, took Minato to Mount Myaboku, where he remained in a coma for over a year. When he awoke and learned what had happened, he devoted himself entirely to mastering the fox's chakra and to creating a way to bring Kushina back to life. It took him 2 years, but he finally succeeded in devising a revival technique that could return a soul to life in a real body, not as a mere puppet. But there was a problem. Ikaibe gestured toward Yamamoto, whose expression had gone blank in disbelief at hearing that his father had survived while he, as a child, suffered alone in an orphanage. His new jutsu allowed him to command the Shinigami's power freely, ensuring perfect resurrections. But the seal within you interfered. A mark made by the Shinigami couldn't be undone easily. After years of experimenting, Minato managed to create a controlled space, a safe zone where he could bring Kushina back without disrupting your seal. With Kushina restored, They refined their seals and perfected his jutsu. But there was still one obstacle, you. Neither of them wanted to take drastic action, but for their dream to last, they saw only one way to remove your seal. By killing me, Yamamoto murmured, managing to remain calm. Exactly. They shared their plan with the Sandame Hokage, Jirtya, and Tsunade, people you knew well, Ikaib said evenly. Together, they searched for a way to end your life painlessly. None of them could bring themselves to kill you outright, though. Twisted as it sounds, they still cared about you. Years passed before an opportunity presented itself, the day you killed Uchiha Sasuke using the Kyuubi's power. Ikaib's tone grew grim. What you never realized is that your father was there that day. He cast a jutsu that forced the fox's chakra to surge beyond control, hoping your death would come swiftly, leaving them less burdened by guilt. But your willpower surpassed even his expectations. You regained control, defying their plan. You know the rest. Yamamoto nodded slowly, piecing it all together. They used Sasuke's death as a pretext to execute me. Precisely, Ikaib replied, scratching his head. Konoha's people demanded your death, so they obliged. They decapitated you and burned your body, ensuring no one could ever revive you. They thought the Kyuubi's half within you perished that day, but they were wrong. Yamamoto frowned, confusion in his gaze. What do you mean? The Nine-Tails Kurama never left your side. He simply took on a new form. Ikaib smiled knowingly. Yamamoto's eyes widened. His gaze shifted toward the Zanpakuto resting nearby. Ryujin Jaka, he gripped the sword, closing his eyes as the world around him faded. Ryujin Jaka's inner world. When he opened his eyes again, he stood upon a pillar of solid magma, surrounded by roaring flames that devoured everything in sight. A deep, rumbling laugh echoed as the inferno shifted, forming the shape of a massive fox's head. It's been ages, kid, over 1,000 years if I'm not mistaken. For the first time in forever, Yamamoto smiled sincerely. Kyuubi, welcome back, Naruto, or do you prefer your new name? The flaming fox teased. Either works, I could ask you the same thing. The fox grinned, its fangs glowing through the flames. Since I've been your Zanpakuto for centuries, as long as you are Genryusai Shichikuni Yamamoto, I'll remain Ryujin Jaka. Fair enough, Yamamoto said with a nod. Now, you'd best return to that monk. He's about to reveal the good part. With a faint grin, Yamamoto agreed and let his consciousness drift back. Ikaib Hayasube's place. Apologies for the delay, Yamamoto said with a slight bow. Ikaib waved it off. No harm done. Now it's time you learned why you've been resurrected. I can guess to stop my father, but tell me, how is he still alive after so long? Yamamoto asked, one brow raised. Time flows differently in the lower realms, Ikaib explained. It gives the Soul King time to align the worlds under his will. But yes, your task is to stop Minato. And I must warn you, you'll need to kill him. His actions defy everything we uphold. Yamamoto closed his eyes briefly. The Soul King's command didn't trouble him. Though he now recalled his past as Uzumaki Naruto, his bond with Minato meant nothing. His duty as a Shinigami outweighed sentiment. Opening his eyes, he said firmly, I'm ready. Ikaib nodded, rising to his feet and stepping outside. Once you pass through the special Senkeiman, you'll receive a new body, one of flesh and blood. You'll retain your Shinigami abilities and regain your chakra, along with all the powers you possessed as Uzumaki Naruto. When your mission ends, you'll be free to remain in that world. That is the Soul King's gift for your service. Yamamoto's expression softened with surprise but soon settled into resolve. As he approached the glowing gateway, Ikaib spoke again. Your father isn't your only target. Those resurrected by his jutsu, their souls are false. You must erase every one of them. I understand. Genryusai, Ikaib said gravely, those you destroy will appear content, their families reunited, their hearts at peace. But when you begin, you'll be seen as a monster. After a moment of silence, Yamamoto nodded. I know, but even if I reclaim my old name, I am still Genryusai Shichikuni Yamamoto. My loyalty to the Soul Society stands above all else. With that, he stepped into the Senkeiman, vanishing in a burst of white light. When the portal closed, Ikaib smiled faintly. May you find meaning in this new existence, he murmured before walking away. Now then, the other one awaits. Land of whirlpools, stepping out of the Senkeiman, Yamamoto instantly sensed the change, power surged through him like never before. His body felt lighter, alive. Looking down, he saw that though he still wore his Shinigami robes, he was once again human. Leaning over a nearby stream, he studied his reflection. The face staring back was a matured version of his former self, Uzumaki Naruto, now about 20 years old, his frame muscular and battle-hardened like Genryusai's. A scar marked his forehead, half hidden beneath longer golden hair. "Well, kid," Kurama's voice rumbled, "since we're back in this world, shall we use our old names again?" After a long pause, Yamamoto no Naruto smiled. It was a grin sharp enough to make any hollow tremble. "I'd say that's perfect, Kurama. Konoha has long boasted about its will of fire. Now those same embers will be their sentence." With a shunpo worthy of a true master, he evaporated from sight and set off across the continent. Naruto Uzumaki had come back, and his flames were poised to pass judgment on anyone bold enough to stand before him. Materializing out of nowhere, Naruto surveyed his surroundings with a composed gaze. The towering trees told him he was indeed within the land of fire. At least he hadn't wandered the wrong way. "Now, how should I proceed?" Naruto mused, then turned northward where he felt a heavy concentration of life. Charging straight into Konoha and slaying everyone might be reckless. They probably can't beat me, but they somehow bound the Shinigami of this world. There may be tricks I don't yet know. There's also the matter of identifying those resurrected. Their souls might not look any different. Kurama's voice rumbled, the same tone he'd used when still known as a Biju. "A quick reconnaissance to gauge what we're up against seems prudent." "Good idea, but first," Naruto focused, drawing on chakra for the first time since his return. In moments, a pall of whitish smoke burst outward. When it cleared, an elderly man with a long gray beard stood where Naruto had been. "You're taking on the guise of Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto?" "Yes, I'll be an unfamiliar face. If I showed my true self, the world might crumble. With you tucked in my cane, it's wiser to look like an old man." Naruto explained, ambling with the slow shuffle of age, his lids nearly closed. "Fair enough," Kurama approved. "Also, Kit, we've company," Naruto interrupted. From the tree line stepped several men garbed in dark clothing, each different in cut and detail. One quick sweep of perception told Naruto they were missing Nin. Every one wore a forehead protector defaced by a single slash through their village emblem. His mind flicked to two specific missing Nin he'd known, relics from his earliest dangerous mission with Konoha. "I wonder where the rebirth circle spat them out." "Oi, old man," snapped one of the rogue shinobi, stepping forward. "This territory's ours. Pay the toll if you want to pass." The others snickered as if he'd told them a joke. Naruto could only exhale softly. "Good grief, kids these days," he muttered. Some of the band bristled. Naruto cracked one eye open slowly. "A lesson is in order." No one had time to register the move before every one of them dropped to their knees, crushed under an invisible, monstrous pressure. Tears streamed, froth bubbled at lips, and some men stumbled with incontinent fear. But Naruto ignored the degradation and focused on the one who had spoken, who now stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. "My mission is timeless," Naruto said in that familiar, even tone. "But I lack patience for teaching infants how to breathe." The former Kumo ninja felt bile rising. How? The frail-looking elder had done nothing overt, yet the air itself seemed to oppress them. He had sensed the Hachibi's negative presence before. This was beyond anything he'd felt. "Before you pass out, tell me, which way is Konoha?" Naruto asked, leaning in as if to hear a whispered reply. The ex-Kumo man weakly extended a trembling arm and pointed behind him. "Thanks." Naruto released his spiritual pressure and the knocked-out Nin dropped limp to the ground. "Still sharp as ever," Kurama commented. "It's become part of me," Naruto replied. "I wonder how many years slipped by since I died. If my count's right, I have millennia of experience over most of them now." A booming chuckle echoed in his head. "I'll say it once. I wish Uchiha Madara were alive just to see you turn him to cinders." Naruto's lips curled into a grin. "I'll accept that as praise." Approaching Konoha, Naruto noted the village's expansion. An outer ring of homes and another set of defensive walls beyond the original ramparts. The faces carved on the Hawkage rock still dominated the skyline, now 5 heads, but the mountains sat further off than before. Kurama snorted about the former Hawkages bulking up the village for some other reason. Naruto didn't argue. He headed toward the main gate and soon recognized two familiar guards. Those two, Naruto thought, seeing Kotsu and Izumo standing sentinel. Either not much time's passed since I died, or they've not been promoted. Halt! Identify yourself, Kotsu barked, raising a hand. Naruto sighed inwardly and shuffled forward with the deliberate gait of an elder. I'd like to enter and stay a couple of days. It's been years since I last called Konoha home. I want to see what's changed. Izumo's face brightened. You'll be amazed. Konoha's grown a lot in recent years. I see that. Last time I was here, the mountain had 3 faces. Naruto lied smoothly. Being convincingly aged avoided unnecessary trouble. You were here years ago. We weren't even on duty then, Kotsu exclaimed. Even if they had been, they'd still be posted here, Naruto thought, and Kurama agreed. After a short inspection, he received a temporary pass and stepped into Konoha proper. The new Konoha district didn't stun him, not compared to Seoul society's grandeur, but it bustled more than he remembered. The streets thrummed with a noticeably larger populace. Do you think those people were revived? Naruto wondered. Hard to tell. Even with our senses, I can't distinguish original souls from resurrected ones, Kurama said, then a moment later growled. No, wait. I can't tell them apart now. How did you read that? Uchiha, Kurama replied. At that whisper, Naruto looked around and spotted a small family with dark hair and eyes. Those are, he thought. Yes, Uchiha. Last I recall, your teammate's older brother wiped that clan out. Kurama's hatred surfaced, sharp and immediate despite all the years he'd once been Ryujin Jaka. So my father must have brought the entire clan back, Sasuke included, perhaps. Perfect. Fantastic. Now we've got the whole Uchiha to deal with, Kurama snapped. Not that I mind, they're a nuisance. Next you'll say the Senju have returned too. Nearby, a vendor greeted 2 customers wearing the Senju crest. Ah, Senju-san, welcome back, he called. Naruto fell silent for a moment. Damn my big mouth, Kurama muttered on his own. This is going to take time, if we want to do it right. Naruto sighed inwardly, then moved toward the original village walls to see the part of Konoha where he'd truly grown up. Presenting his pass at the inner gate, he finally stepped into the place of his youth, the streets where Uzumaki Naruto had once been known. We're close to lunch. I might as well get something to eat. Naruto decided and headed to his old favorite ramen stall, surprised to find the little stand expanded into a full restaurant. The scent was unmistakable. He pushed open the door and a small bell chimed. A maid glanced up. Welcome to Ikaraku Ramen, table or takeout, she asked with a smile. So they hired servers. I wonder if Aim still works here. Naruto thought, then nodded. A table for 1, please. Right this way, the waitress said, handing him a menu and guiding him to a small table. Seated, Naruto scanned the busy room and felt a warm tug. Despite the mission and the revelation that his past life had been manipulated, he bore no hatred for the little family who'd fed him so often for free. Yet at a nearby table his eyes froze on a sight that pricked something like regret as duty reasserted itself. Yumino Uruka, his old academy teacher, sat at a table for 4. Next to him was Mitarashi Anko, the Kunoichi Naruto remembered from the Chunin exams. Opposite them were 2 older people who could be Uruka's parents. They must be his folks. I remember them dying the night you were released from my mother, Naruto reflected. Your father certainly didn't hold back. If what I'm seeing is true, there will be hundreds to eliminate before this ends. Kurama said, grim. But first, we should speak to the Shinigami of this world. Maybe we can stop it from being called forth again. Maybe, but first I'd better take a look around. From what I can tell, Uruka hasn't changed much. The only way to be sure is to run into someone from my old class. After ordering several bowls of ramen and paying with the coins he'd filched from the absent ninja, Naruto left the shop and made for the academy. As he moved through the streets, he noticed more shinobi than before in this quarter, but he paid them little mind, scanning for familiar faces. Minutes later, he spotted 3 figures coming toward him, each wearing the green flak jackets of higher-ranked ninja. Looks like they all made Chunin, although the lazy ones got a Jonin vest. Guess that brain helped him, Naruto mused as Team 10 passed, chatting. A fleeting image from his past hit him the moment of his execution, and in the crowd ahead he thought he saw Shikamaru and Ino watching him, their expressions mixed. He shook it off and continued, until he reached the academy, where students were still in class. Judging by how everyone looks, about 10 years must have passed since I died. Konohamaru and the others are probably adults now. We can't just wander and hope for answers. Head to the library, the history records should be public, Kurama suggested. Naruto had already planned to consult written records, but he wanted to look around a bit longer. Closing his eyes to focus and making sure nobody trailed him, he used Shunpo to vanish, reappearing seconds later in an alley near the library. Blending into the crowd, he entered the large building and stopped at the front desk, where a librarian greeted him. "Good afternoon, can I help you?" "Yes, where are the historical volumes?" "I want to read up on recent events in Konoha," Naruto asked, still playing the part of a frail, older man. "Of course, follow me." The librarian led him between towering stacks and pointed to two books. "These covers Konoha's history from its founding to now. For what you want, these two should do." He handed Naruto a volume embossed with the Konoha crest and another marked for the Land of Fire. The first details events from the return of the fourth Hokage onward, including many of his deeds. The other covers the same era, but across the entire Land of Fire. Actions by our shinobi shaped these events. Naruto thanked him and took the books to an empty table. He read the first for hours, then skimmed selected chapters of the second. By the time the sun dipped low, he had a throbbing headache and rubbed his temples. "This is going to take ages," he muttered. "You could say that. The hit list is bigger than we thought," Kurama replied. The pages explained that, the day after Naruto's death, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina had inexplicably returned. The fourth had been hailed as a savior, reinstated as Hokage, while Tsunade resumed her duties at the hospital. Minato told the populace he'd remained hidden to recover and to learn to control the Ninetales chakra. Naruto burned at the sight of his father being treated like a deity despite being a Jinchuriki as well. The revelations continued. The third Hokage had likewise returned, claiming his death at Orochimaru's hands had been staged so he could recuperate. Even more astonishing, the Sandaime appeared renewed, as youthful as when he first became Hokage, allegedly thanks to techniques Minato had developed. Naruto and Kurama speculated that Minato had uncovered methods to rejuvenate people, and that the Sandaime's confrontation with Orochimaru might have involved some of Minato's tricks rather than the Shinigami. Minato stunned everyone further by announcing he could bring the dead back, claiming control over the Shinigami. After a public demonstration, many in Konoha began to revere him. In the months that followed, houses were rebuilt, and a stream of resurrections and rejuvenations occurred. Entire clans returned, the Uzumaki, Uchiha, Senju, even the first and second Hokage and Uzumaki Mito. Naruto read that there had been disputes with some resurrected individuals, but after weighing the consequences, the village forgave Minato, and he was even granted Hashirama Senju's blessing. It was noted that Uchiha Itachi had been absolved and now led the Uchiha. The remaining chapters catalogued Minato's legendary feats, reconciling Orochimaru, quelling a demon in the land of demons, forging alliances through marriages, and so on. The tone was unremittingly favorable. Naruto suspected a civilian author. "So basically 3 major clans, my father, and a host of people brought back," Kurama observed. "And what about the new generation? If 8 years passed since you died, those resurrected had time to have children," Kurama added, pointing out a key complication. "We leave them be. Even if their souls aren't original, they're living beings formed by the Wheel of Souls. Killing them would be unjust," Naruto said coldly. "Now we know what happened while I was gone and how many of our targets there are. We need to find the Shinigami here and stop whoever's summoning it to cut this off at the source." "How will you reach it?" Kurama asked. "I don't know. Maybe the technique is recorded in the Scroll of Seals, but stealing it from the Hokage Tower would draw too much attention. After what you stole 8 years ago, they'd have tightened security," Naruto thought, then used Shunpo again once he confirmed he was alone in the alley. To Kurama's surprise, Naruto rematerialized in a small clearing by some trees, a path nearby. 2 monuments stood before him. One was a black kunai-shaped memorial stone carved with names. Kurama recognized it immediately, and the other was a white marble half-statue of Naruto himself. "It looks like my father had this statue made, to mark me as a hero for keeping you suppressed these 12 years since I was born," Naruto said. moving closer and studying the fresh flowers at the base. Someone's been here recently. Kurama tried to distract him, but footsteps approached. Naruto forced his features to remain composed as a familiar voice greeted them. Good evening. I haven't seen you here before, Uzumaki Kushina said, smiling and holding a bouquet of orange flowers. Are you here to remember someone who's gone? You could say that, Naruto answered after a moment, then turned back to the monument. Kushina placed her flowers beneath the statue. You know, he was my son, yet I barely got to be with him. Naruto watched her, puzzled why she spoke like this, and replied lightly, Many mothers lose their lives in childbirth. Others lose their children. She gave a bitter little smile. Yes, unfortunately, we didn't have that luck. I'm one of those Minato brought back, but I never held my child in my arms. Naruto arched an eyebrow. Then why didn't you bring him back? Kushina's laugh was hollow. Naruto recognized the emptiness behind it. He can't. There was a special seal on his body, a Shinigami seal. Those marked like that cannot be resurrected. So that's why I haven't met a duplicate of myself, Naruto thought, staring at his mother who had no clue who he really was. He recognized the grim truth. She was on his list and would die one way or another. He could end her now with a blade, but his father would just revive her and they'd be back where they started. Mom, I'm hungry. Can we go? A girl's voice called from behind them. Turning, Naruto had to swallow another surge of feeling. Two girls, both around 16, came running toward them. One was the spitting image of Kushina, the other a near-perfect copy of Naruto's old Warok no Jutsu look, a jarring detail that unsettled him. Naruto, can't you see I'm praying for your brother? You should be doing the same, Kushina said gently, glancing toward the blonde girl, who puffed her cheeks in mild annoyance and pointed toward the flowers resting before the memorial. Do you see those flowers, Mom? Who do you think placed them there today? I can vouch for her, Kushina, added the other girl calmly. Right after training with our sensei, we stopped by the market, bought some flowers and brought them here. Kushina's expression softened. That's so, Miwako? Then I suppose we've done enough for now. You two go on ahead and grab something to eat. I'll catch up shortly. The two girls nodded and walked away, leaving Kushina alone before she turned her attention back to the statue. Those girls, they've helped me fill the emptiness that's been here since my son's death. I understand, Naruto murmured, watching them leave before turning away himself. I should be going, it was nice talking with you. The feeling's mutual, Kushina replied softly. After a moment of silence, she bowed toward the statue of her lost son, then departed in the direction her daughters had gone. Meanwhile, Naruto wandered aimlessly through the village streets. That's when Kurama's deep voice echoed in his mind. So, not only do you have to kill your parents, but you'll also have to make your sisters orphans. This mission keeps getting more delightful by the minute. That won't stop me. As the former captain commander of the Godai 13, it's my duty to protect the natural balance of souls, Naruto thought with a quiet sigh. Though, I do hope my father doesn't have any more surprises waiting for me. Knowing your father, that's quite possible. His mind is just as sharp and unpredictable as Aizen's ever was. So, what's your next move? First, we need to figure out how to contact the Shinigami of this world. Asking random people would draw too much attention, so I'll see if an old acquaintance can help. With that, Naruto vanished in a flash of Shunpo. The next day, Sunagakuer. So this is what Hyuko Mundo would look like without the eternal darkness, Naruto mused as he approached Suna's entrance. A gap between two rocky cliffs sealed by a massive gate. After the same clearance process as in Konoha, he received a temporary pass to enter. As he moved through Suna's streets, the contrast from Konoha was striking. The atmosphere here felt heavy, much like the difference between Rukengai and Serete back in the Soul Society. Strange, Suna and Konoha are supposed to be allies, so why does this place look so poor and neglected? We'll know more once we speak with Gaara. Still, I doubt he knows much about the Shinigami or the technique your father used, Kurama replied lazily. It's still worth asking. Besides, it'll be good to see Gaara again, especially now that he's Kazekage. When Naruto arrived at the Kazekage Tower, he approached the front desk. The young receptionist, startled to see him, quickly stood up. Good morning, sir. How can I help you today? I'd like to speak with the Kazekage if possible, Naruto said politely. It's regarding something important. She hesitated but checked the schedule. He should be available right now. May I have your name to announce you properly? Just tell him an old friend has come back from the grave. He'll understand. Naruto's lips curved into a small grin, confusing the secretary. She pressed the intercom. Keisuke-sama, someone wishes to see you, he says. She hesitated, glancing at Naruto, that he's an old friend who's returned from the grave. A brief silence followed, then Gaara's voice responded, send him in. Naruto thanked her and walked to the office door. After knocking 3 times and hearing, come in, he entered, only to find more than just Gaara waiting. 2 hidden chakra signatures hinted at ANBU guards, and beside Gaara stood a brown-haired woman holding a small child with the same red hair as the Keisuke. So you've not only become Keisuke, but also started a family. Congratulations, Gaara. You've achieved what I once dreamed of, Naruto said with a soft smile, ignoring Gaara's cautious expression. Who are you? Gaara asked sharply as sand rose behind him to shield his wife and child. The ANBU moved instantly, ready to strike. That hurts, Gaara. Naruto chuckled before a puff of white smoke engulfed him. When it cleared, the old form was gone, replaced by a young man with familiar blonde hair and blue eyes. Naruto smiled warmly. It's been a while, my friend. En Naruto? Gaara's eyes widened. In the flesh, Naruto nodded, still smiling. But that's impossible, you were executed 8 years ago. Your body was destroyed completely, Gaara said, disbelief mixing with hope. It's true. But not even death can stop the most unpredictable ninja in Konoha, Naruto said with a grin. You should know that, after all, I beat you 8 years ago using Gamabunta to face your released demon form. A slow smile formed on Gaara's lips. Only a few people know about that. You really are Naruto. The 2 ANBU revealed themselves then, removing their masks to show Temari and Kankuro, both frozen in shock. Naruto. How are you even alive? Temari whispered, her voice trembling. It's a long story, Naruto replied, glancing at Gaara. If you'd like, I can explain. Gaara nodded, then gestured to the woman beside him. Before that, meet my wife, Matsuri, and our son, Hizari. Naruto bowed. It's an honor. The honor's mine, Matsuri smiled brightly. Gaara told me so much about you, it's wonderful to finally meet. Chuckling, Naruto sat down before Gaara's desk as the family gathered nearby. As I said, this might take a while. For hours, Naruto told them everything. His life as Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto, the Soul Society, Zanpakuto, Hollows, Aizen's betrayal, the Quincy's, the Soul King, and his reason for returning. When he finished, the room was silent, their faces filled with shock. So that's the truth, Naruto concluded. This is unbelievable, Gaara muttered, stunned. I never imagined something like that existed. W8, Kankuro blurted out nervously. Now that we know all this, won't we be in danger, from that Soul King or whoever else? You don't need to worry, Naruto assured calmly. Simply knowing this doesn't endanger you. When you die, your memories of this world will be wiped clean, so in your next life, you'll start anew. His eyes sharpened slightly. Still, I'd appreciate it if none of you spread what I've said. We both know what Konoha would do with this kind of information. Kankuro swallowed hard and nodded quickly, while Temari smirked at her brother's fear. Your secret's safe with us, Gaara promised. What are your plans now? I need to find a way to contact this world's Shinigami, Naruto said seriously. I was hoping you might know a way. Gaara shook his head. Unfortunately, we don't. But you might find something in Konoha on Sunday. Naruto frowned. Why Sunday? Temari scowled. The 4th Hokage performs his revival technique once a week, every Sunday, bringing back those who have died during the week. It's turned into some kind of public spectacle. I see, Naruto murmured thoughtfully. Then I'll head there to witness this ritual myself, but tell me, why does Suna look so broken? I remember our alliance with Konoha was strong 8 years ago. Gaara's expression darkened. It was. But after we learned of your execution, your father offered to revive our mother in exchange for maintaining the alliance. His eyes narrowed. Using human lives as bargaining chips disgusts me, and the fact that they executed you while reviving Sasuke Uchiha showed us their hypocrisy. If your father could revive the dead, why not bring you back too? Temari added bitterly. We realized you were seen as a threat, and they erased you to protect their control. We asked the Hokage to bring you back, Kankuro said with a scowl. He refused with no explanation. So we ended the alliance, now it's just a non-aggression pact. Naruto listened silently before smiling sadly. I'm sorry. My death brought this on Suna too. You've suffered because of me. Don't be so hard on yourself, my friend. Your father sees himself as a god. He's done things no ordinary man would dare, Gaara said with a faint smile. As Kazekage, the safety of the village rests upon me. Naruto gave a slow nod before standing. Anyway, I'll do whatever I can to help you out. No friend of mine should suffer if I can prevent it. I appreciate that, Gaara replied, walking with him toward the exit as Naruto used the Henjno jutsu once again. But you still have a long journey ahead. Will you be heading to Konoha immediately? Tomorrow, Naruto answered with a grin. Believe it or not, I'm faster than Minato now. It won't take me long to reach Konoha. I see. Then how about staying as my guest? My home is large, plenty of unused rooms. Thanks for the offer, Naruto said, frowning slightly as he looked through the window. But if there's one thing I remember, it's that Jiraiya has eyes and ears everywhere. I'd rather stay under the radar while I'm here. A hotel will do. Understood. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do everything I can to help you, Gaara said, extending his hand. Thanks, Gaara. That really means a lot, Naruto replied with a smile before heading into the busy streets of Suna, quickly vanishing into the crowd. Seems like Naruto-kun's changed quite a bit, Temari said softly. Oh, Naruto-kun, huh? Kankuro teased with a grin, causing his sister to blush. Ah, that's some good blackmail material right there. In his brief moment of triumph, Kankuro failed to notice that Gaara had already left with his wife and child, or that Temari had quietly slipped her ANBU mask back on. Kankuro, came her calm but deadly voice. The young man froze, slowly turning to see Temari raising her giant fan above her head. Care to repeat that? Not the face. A few blocks away, Naruto paused, tilting his head. I could have sworn I heard Kankuro scream. Sounded like a little girl, didn't it? Kurama remarked. Naruto nodded mentally. Yeah, definitely like a little girl. Anyway, I should find a hotel, but his thoughts were cut short when a familiar voice spoke behind him. Oh, so this is the first time I've managed to approach you without being noticed. Naruto spun around, his eyes widening at the sight before him. The newcomer smiled calmly. It's been a long time, Captain Commander. You! Naruto stood frozen, disbelief flooding his face. Since arriving in this world, he'd faced many surprises, but none like this. Before him stood someone he thought he'd never meet again, wearing the unmistakable Haori of a Godai 13 captain. I don't think I've ever seen you this shocked, the figure said softly. Is my presence here really that surprising? The former captain commander took a deep breath before replying, I think you'd react the same way if our positions were reversed. Then, a small smile touched his lips. It's good to see you again, Captain Unohana. Ritsu Unohana, once the captain of the 4th Division, smiled warmly. Only a few days have passed for you, but for me, it's felt like an eternity. Your death was a heavy blow to the Godai 13. Naruto looked toward the sky, silent for a moment. Those kids are strong. I trained many of them myself. I know their potential. Ritsu chuckled. I expected you'd say that. Would you like to know who replaced you? Naruto thought for a moment, then nodded. Why don't we discuss it over lunch? Of course. How about ramen? Ritsu suggested with a knowing smile. Ikaib Hayasube mentioned your life as Uzumaki Naruto when he briefed me about your mission. Naruto's gaze sharpened. So you were sent here to help me? Ritsu nodded gently. That's right. But let's talk about it properly over a bowl of ramen. I've always had a soft spot for bold flavors. With that, she led the way toward a small inn, Naruto walking beside her. Soon, they were seated in a quiet corner, at Naruto's request, both ordering ramen. So tell me, Naruto began in a calm tone, why were you assigned to this world with me? I get that you were sent to assist me, but your healing abilities would be more valuable in Soul Society, especially with the ongoing war against the Quincy's. His voice softened. Unless you two have passed on. Ritsu gave him a sad smile. You guessed it, but it wasn't a Quincy who ended my life. I fell by the hand of the one I deemed worthy to succeed me. Naruto's eyes widened slightly before he smirked. That brat finally understood what it means to bear the title of captain. I couldn't say, she replied with a quiet laugh, but he truly embodies the title of Kenpachi now. Naruto snorted. Well, whatever chaos he causes now, it's no longer my concern. The last time he wrecked something, I had to listen to Central 46 complain for days. Ritsu laughed softly at the memory. Anyway, Naruto continued, you're really here just to assist me. Yes, that's the agreement, Ritsu replied. But in return, I get to live a new life here just like you. I once lived in this world, long before becoming a soul. Her words made Naruto blink in surprise. In fact, our paths crossed when you were still Uzumaki Naruto. It was during your first C-rank mission that turned into an A-rank. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. Haku, instead of nodding, Ritsu smiled, a sharp, familiar grin that once terrified the other captains of the Godai 13. Close guess, Gaki. Naruto and even Kurama inside him went completely blank for a few seconds before he finally stammered. Z Zabuza. Meanwhile, Konoha. And with that our meeting concludes, said Namikaze Minato, stamping a document before smiling at the group. Thank you for your hard work. I hope to see you all at the festival tomorrow. A masked ANBU with a dragon mask said nothing and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Minato chuckled. Naturally, I meant those who aren't on duty. What a drag, sighed Nara Shikaku. That meeting went on longer than usual. You knew what you were signing up for when you agreed to represent the Konoha clans, Ikaraku Tuchai said with a grin. You and I are both stuck in this together. Troublesome, next time I'm voting for Itachi instead, Shikaku muttered. Minato laughed, bidding the council farewell before heading to his office, where a mountain of paperwork awaited. Thankfully, ever since he'd reorganized the council 8 years earlier, his workload had become far more manageable, allowing him the occasional early night. When Minato had returned from the grave, the council still consisted only of the Hokage and the 3 elders, Shimura Danzo, Mitokado Himura, and Udatane Koharu. But upon uncovering Danzo's secret experiments and his root division, Minato had removed him from power and imprisoned him in Konoha's highest security facility. In his place, he reinstated a rejuvenated Sarutobi Hiruzen. Realizing that such a small council couldn't effectively govern every aspect of the village, Minato expanded it. He added 3 new seats, the ANBU commander, Dragon, to handle high-level missions, a representative of the clans, chosen by vote, Shikaku won the latest election, and a representative for civilians, which Ikaraku Tuchai earned through his reputation and wisdom among the townsfolk. These reforms had made governance far smoother, even if the Hokage's duties never truly ended. Settling at his desk, Minato's gaze drifted to the 2 photographs he always kept nearby. The first, taken 8 years ago, showed him seated at that very desk with Kushina and their daughters beside him, captured just days after his return. The second photo, more precious to him, showed a cheerful blonde boy with blue eyes and whisker-like marks, Naruto's ninja ID picture. Hiruzen had told him the story behind it, and Minato had laughed at the time, proud that his son could still smile despite everything. Now, he kept that photo as a reminder of his greatest failure. Despite all his genius with seals, Minato had never managed to undo the Shinigami's seal that imprisoned the Kyuubi within Naruto. That night long ago, he'd considered using the same sealing technique on Naruto that he'd used on himself, but the boy's body was too fragile. The Kyuubi would have broken free and killed him within seconds. Over the years, Minato had tried every possible method to break or alter the seal, but each attempt only backfired. His lowest point came during Sasuke's retrieval mission. When Naruto had fallen under the Ninetales' influence, Minato had secretly planned to end his life, to stop the beast once and for all. But when the boy was returned unconscious, Minato hesitated. Jiraiya had seen it in his eyes, the weakness, the guilt. And for that, Minato still couldn't forgive his old master. After his son's execution, Minato secluded himself for a day to gather his thoughts before moving forward with his grand vision of everlasting peace. He began reviving the mightiest warriors of history, ensuring Konoha's dominance without the need for bloodshed. Harnessing the Ninetales chakra under his command and combining it with advanced sealing techniques, Minato even developed a method to restore people to their prime. He offered to extend this rejuvenation to Konoha's allies, such as Taki and Suna, though Suna declined and later dissolved their alliance entirely. Many had suggested forcing the alliance back through strength, but Minato rejected the idea outright. He had no interest in igniting another war. Proof of that was evident. In the 8 years since his revival, Konoha's overwhelming power had never been used to conquer other nations. "Don't worry, Naruto. I'll find a way to bring you back," Minato said softly, smiling before a knock sounded at his office door. "Enter." A Chunin rushed in, stopping before the Hokkage's desk. "Hokage-sama, the guards at the south gate have reported something you should see." Minato's expression hardened. "What is it?" The shinobi handed him a file. Inside was a photograph of an elderly, bald man with a long gray beard and a scar marking his forehead. "Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto." "Yes, sir," the Chunin confirmed. "He arrived just before noon yesterday, requesting entry into Konoha to stay for a couple of days. The guard said it had been years since his last visit, and he wanted to see how much had changed." "I see. Did this Genryusai cause any incidents?" "None, Hokage-sama. But according to reports, he's vanished from the village. No gate watch has recorded his departure." The ninja's tone turned serious. "Even after enhancing the Byakugan range using your seals, we couldn't locate him." Minato frowned. "When we search again, if he's not within the village, check the training fields and forest perimeter." "Yes, Hokage-sama." The Chunin bowed and exited. "Perhaps an old shinobi who used a teleportation jutsu," Minato mused, signing papers. "But the village barrier should have detected that. Why do I feel something larger is unfolding?" Soon a heavy silence lingered in the small inn as Naruto quietly ate his ramen. He was on his fifth bowl, yet he hadn't spoken a word. Even the waitress seemed uneasy in his presence. The woman sitting across from him finally broke into laughter. "All these years, and this is the first time I've seen you sulk over a joke." Naruto glanced up, unimpressed. "In both my lives, I've never liked being the punchline of a joke, especially not when I was Uzumaki Naruto. You already know that, Haku." "Forgive me," Haku said with an amused smile. "I couldn't let such a chance slip." Naruto finished his bowl and set it down. "Mind explaining how you ended up being both Haku and Zabuza?" "When we died, I refused to abandon him," she said softly, stirring her ramen. "Zabuza was destined for hell, but I couldn't let him go. My soul clung to his, and since mine was pure, the Soul King merged us, my spirit taking the lead." Naruto smirked faintly. "Hard to believe, considering your early years in the Godai 13 or before that." Haku chuckled. "Fair. As the first Kenpachi, I did mirror Zabuza's brutality, but that was my soul's reflection of not wanting to lose him. Later, when I became 4th Division captain, my gentler side reemerged." "I remember," Naruto said. "You've been by my side since the beginning. When Ichibe Hayasube resurrected me, he restored my past memories and explained your purpose. He offered me the chance to assist you." Naruto nodded, starting his sixth bowl. "Then you're curious about what I've found." "Indeed." Naruto recounted everything: Minato's resurrection of old heroes, Konoha's unmatched strength, and his intent to contact this world's Shinigami. When he finished, Haku seemed deep in thought. "That's quite the task," she said at last. "But I think there's a simpler route. If Zabuza's memories are accurate, there's a temple near Konoha tied to the Shinigami. The Uzumaki clan once used it for communication with them." Naruto pondered briefly before nodding. "Then we'll confirm the story. Finding it shouldn't be difficult." Haku agreed, and after paying, they vanished into thin air, leaving the alley silent. Konoha's outskirts. "This temple is impressive," Haku said, studying the massive structure before them, well-preserved, flawless. "Too new to be ancient," Naruto observed. "They've rebuilt it recently." Together, they entered the deserted building and stopped before a wall lined with 27 Oni masks. "What are we searching for?" "Likely a mask, but I can't tell which," Haku replied, scanning them. Naruto examined each one until his eyes fixed on a small-horned mask. Lifting it, he noticed a seal etched inside where the forehead would rest. "This one," he said firmly. "It's calling to me. The rest are lifeless wood." "We should test it somewhere private," he added. "Uzushio's ruins will do. No one's gone there in decades." Haku agreed, and in a flash they were gone, reappearing among the ruins of the fallen Uzumaki village. Naruto inspected the mask again, realizing the seal resembled a transformed henge. Channeling chakra into it, he broke the seal, only for the resulting shockwave to dispel his own transformation. "Oh my," Haku murmured. Naruto turned, stunned. Before him stood a young woman with long black hair and expressive brown eyes, wearing a Shinigami's robes, Haku's true form. "Haku!" she nodded, slightly blushing. I wasn't sure if you'd changed bodies too, so I kept my disguise. Her gaze flicked over him. You look good, even without the beard. Thanks, you too, Naruto muttered, avoiding her eyes. What's wrong with me? We've fought together for centuries. He shook off the thought, focusing on the mask. Its appearance had changed, its mouth now sealed with jagged teeth, its eye holes narrowed, and its horns and markings glowing crimson. Naruto, that's— Yes, he interrupted, a hollow mask. Almost identical to the ones Kurosaki Ichigo and others wore after Aizen's experiments. Haku's brow furrowed. Do you still intend to use it? I do. We've come this far, he said, placing the mask over his face and channeling chakra into it. Moments later, the mask lifted from him, floating midair as a dark mist spilled forth. From that haze, a towering Shinigami emerged, the mask dropping to the ground. Naruto and Haku stared at the spectral being, recognizing the divine energy radiating from it. To their surprise, the Shinigami knelt deeply, bowing before Naruto. Captain Commander Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto, it proclaimed, it's an honor to finally meet you. Well, that's unexpected, Naruto thought with a faint sweat drop. You know who I am? Naturally. I, along with the Shinigami of Lesser Worlds, am well aware of the Soul Society and your legacy, the spirit replied with a courteous nod, then suddenly noticed Haku. Ah, Unohana-senpai. My apologies, I didn't realize you were here. Haku blinked in mild surprise but waved it off. It's fine, really. Naruto's expression remained calm. Since you already know of me, I assume you understand the reason for my presence. Indeed. Ichibe Hayasube sent word in advance about your arrival and purpose, the ethereal being said, rising to its feet. It pains me deeply that the two of you were sent to this plane because of my failure. Don't trouble yourself, Naruto responded, shaking his head slightly. The humans here achieve feats beyond what mortals from other worlds can dream of. What I need to know is, can you erase those you resurrected? I wish I could, the Shinigami admitted with a sigh. But the cursed technique created by that Namikaze binds me. It prevents me from undoing their existence or decaying their souls. I have no control unless that jutsu summons me. He then revealed markings across his form. These seals imprison me. If anyone aside from the Namikaze were to summon me, my strength would remain dormant. Worse still, these seals prevent me from revealing Konoha's hidden truths. Konoha's secrets? Haku echoed, her brow arching. The spirit inclined his head. That human used me for far more than mere resurrection, yet I cannot speak of it. That complicates things, Haku murmured, glancing toward Naruto, whose sharp eyes hadn't left the Shinigami. I see, then we'll use advanced Kaido to bind you. You'll still guide souls to reincarnation, but no one will ever summon you again, Naruto stated, turning to Haku. Will you assist me? You don't even need to ask, she replied with a faint smile, joining him. Hours passed before the ritual reached completion. Golden chains erupted from the ground, encasing the Shinigami, sinking into his body as scarlet seals flared across his form. A glowing barrier surrounded him before slowly fading, replaced by a dark iron lock fastened to the band around his waist. It's done. You're free from human control now, Naruto said with satisfaction. The Shinigami bowed deeply. My gratitude, Genryusai Dono. I have little to offer, but please accept this gift. It will aid you. With a single gesture, he touched their foreheads. Their eyes briefly turned golden with black sclera before returning to normal. What did you just do? Haku asked, puzzled. I've granted you what mortals here call a dojutsu, the spirit explained. By channeling chakra into your eyes, you'll perceive those resurrected by the technique. Their bodies will emit an aura identical to mine. That's incredibly useful, Naruto said, nodding. With a wave, he released the Shinigami, whose form faded away as the summoning mask crumbled to dust. Do we move now? Haku asked, glancing at him. Yes, it's time to make our presence known, Naruto replied before vanishing toward Konoha in a blur, Haku following close behind. The next day, Konoha. So this is Konoha? Haku asked, walking among lively crowds. The festival atmosphere filled the air, drunken laughter, bright lights, and endless celebration. Yes, Naruto murmured, his true form hidden under a disguise as was Haku's. Though it's changed a lot since I last saw it. I suppose that's normal, but, Naruto, Haku's tone lowered. I know. We're being tailed, he replied casually without turning his head. How should we handle it? She asked, pretending to browse through market stalls. Tonight, we reveal ourselves. But first, let's clear the pests in our shadow, Naruto said firmly. Haku smirked. Captain Soifan would scold them for such clumsy stealth. Both disappeared in a flicker, reappearing in a deserted training field. Within moments, a dozen ANBU surrounded them, weapons drawn. Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto, one ANBU declared coldly, you are to come with us. Resist and we'll use force. Naruto sighed. Yer, such insolent children. His eyes briefly shifted, dark and gold. Especially those who should be resting in their graves. The ANBU showed no reaction, but Haku stepped forward, voice calm. Mind if I handle them? They are our targets, after all. Naruto studied her briefly as the ANBU prepared to strike. Eager, aren't you? Is that Ritsu Anohana speaking? Maybe, Haku replied with a faintly chilling grin. Or maybe I simply missed testing my blade. Then go ahead, Naruto said, unbothered. At the captain's command, the ANBU lunged, yet to Haku, they moved as though time slowed. Her smile widened as she touched the flat of her sword. Perhaps our Zanpakuto commands remain the same, Kenpachi Zaraki, let's find out. As the assassin's blades descended, she whispered two words that sliced through the night. Drink Kubikirabacho. A single blinding arc later, several heads rolled before blood could spill. More followed in an instant, their captain barely realizing she had vanished. Where? He looked around desperately, ignoring the fallen as Naruto stood aside, merely observing. You move quickly, her icy voice rang from their midst, but not nearly fast enough. Only the captain managed to evade, swapping himself with a rock that split cleanly in half. He reappeared, ready to strike, only to freeze as cold steel touched his throat. Impressive, Haku murmured. You survived one blow, few can boast that. He turned just enough to glimpse the infamous Kubikirabacho and the chilling expression of its wielder. Who are you? Haku answered with silence, and a single clean stroke. His body crumpled at her feet. For a long moment, she stood motionless until Naruto's hand rested gently on her shoulder. You all right? He asked softly. Haku smiled faintly. Yes, I'm fine. Naruto's grip tightened slightly. Haku may not know you well, but I know when Ritsu Anohana is unsettled. Her eyes softened. It's strange. I haven't felt such exhilaration in centuries, since my battle with Zaraki, perhaps even before, back when Zabuza still lived. You're conflicted, he noted. You could say that, she sighed, sheathing her weapon. Neither as Haku nor as Ritsu Anohana did I ever kill so freely. I'm beginning to wonder who I truly am. That's nonsense, Naruto replied calmly, surprising her. You're strong, always have been. You led 2 divisions with honor and unmatched skill. You've never faltered in your duty. Memories can't break someone like you. She chuckled quietly. You always had a way with words. Call it experience, Naruto said dryly. Though your Zanpakuto feels different now, doesn't it? Yes, the moment I regained my past life's memories, the blade felt altered. Did the same happen to you? Naruto shook his head. No, I now understand my sword's true nature, but its power remains unchanged. Haku frowned slightly but let it go, glancing at the fallen ANBU. They've been tracking us since we entered the village. Naruto nodded. Konoha has plenty of skilled sensors. When I first returned years ago, they must have recorded my chakra signature. I'm sure Minato ordered surveillance in case I ever reappeared. Luckily for me, my chakra's not the same anymore. What about the fox? Haku asked, now aware that Naruto, in his past life, had once carried the Ninetales within him. Naruto smirked, lifting the cane that concealed his blade. Like I said before, now I truly know the identity of my Zanpakuto. Haku's eyes widened for a second before understanding his meaning. She nodded calmly. So as long as it stays in that form, no one can sense its chakra. Exactly, Naruto replied. Now it's time to return. Tonight we'll make sure Minato and everyone who supports him gets our message. Haku gave a silent nod before vanishing with a swift shunpo. A short while later, the two sat across from each other at a small restaurant. We really do spend most of our time eating, Haku joked, a faint smile on her lips. Before entering the village, they had used concealment spells to erase their chakra traces and spiritual signatures, ensuring that not even Konoha's sensory units could detect them. Knowing full well that the village likely had Naruto's image circulated among its forces, Both had taken on disguises through a henge, appearing as their old lieutenants from the Godai 13. Not much choice, Naruto replied in Chijiro's guise. Minato's making some kind of public address at midnight from the Hawkage Tower. Apparently, it's a yearly custom, nothing new, but this time the whole village will be watching. That'll be our moment to strike. Sounds perfect to me, Haku replied, slicing into a piece of steak. But just as Naruto lifted his chopsticks again, a lively group entered the room, their voices drawing his attention. Well, speak of the devil. Naruto thought as his gaze drifted to the table where his old comrades sat, alongside his two sisters. While wandering through the village earlier, he and Haku had overheard chatter about that group, the younger generation of shinobi who trained under the Hokage's daughters. People had started calling them the Konoha 13. Both Naruto and Haku had almost burst into laughter upon hearing it, instantly comparing the name to the Godai 13. Haku had even teased that even the weakest of their former lieutenants could probably overpower them. This is so boring, can't we take a mission tomorrow already? Naruto sighed, slumping in her chair. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, seated lazily between his teammates. You could just rest for once. I know I will. Sakura shot him a glare. You'd rest all year if you could. I'm with Naruto this time, Sasuke's voice cut in unexpectedly. We haven't had a mission in days. You too, Sasuke-kun. Sakura blinked in surprise. I thought you liked staying home. I do, Sasuke admitted, his expression unreadable. But not when my mother starts asking when she'll have grandkids to spoil. Sakura flushed, and to Naruto's mild surprise, he noticed a wedding ring on her finger, along with one on Sasuke's hand. Well, I'll be damned, Kurama chuckled inside him. The king of brooding actually married, and to a woman no less. Didn't think the world could surprise me anymore, Naruto mused silently, his gaze sweeping across the group. Kiba and Ino also wore rings, though their seating positions and lack of interaction made it clear they weren't married to each other. On the other hand, Neji and Tenten sat side by side, Tenten's outfit proudly bearing the Hyuga crest. They've changed, Haku murmured, watching Sakura and Sasuke. Yeah, they have, Naruto agreed, taking another bite without saying more. After several minutes of quiet eating, Haku finally spoke again. You're thinking about something. And don't try to deny it. You and I know each other too well. Naruto's expression softened. I was wondering what might have happened if I hadn't died 8 years ago. If my father had really fallen the night I was born, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe I'd be sitting there, laughing with them instead. He shook his head slowly. But you can't change what's already done. And after all the years I've lived as Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto, I wouldn't undo that, even if I could. Haku smiled, her eyes reflecting a quiet understanding. Their conversation drifted to memories of their old lives, reminiscing about battles, allies, and times long gone. Hours passed like moments as they ate and laughed softly, until it was time to leave. Just before stepping out, Naruto glanced once more at the table of familiar faces and activated the Shinigami's eyes. What he saw made his expression harden instantly. Naruto, Haku asked, noticing the shift in his gaze. What is it? 7 of them, he murmured darkly. What? 7 of my old comrades have already died once before, he said quietly. Which means I'll have to kill them again. Meanwhile, Hokage's office. Is the report accurate? Minato asked, his tone grave. Yes, sir, the ANBU confirmed. The team that tracked Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto and an unidentified woman was found at Training Ground 7. All deceased, killed by a single sword strike. Minato's eyes narrowed. And no trace of the killer. None, Hokage-sama. No chakra signatures, no scent, no trail of any kind. Jiraiya, leaning against the wall with uncharacteristic seriousness, spoke next. This is bad, Minato. Those ANBU weren't pushovers. There was an Uzumaki and an Uchiha among them. For all of them to die from one swing, that's no ordinary threat. Agreed, Minato muttered. We're facing someone extremely dangerous. Suggestions? Aside from alerting every ANBU squad, maybe you could revive the fallen ones. If you can see how they died, you'll understand your enemy's strength, Jiraiya advised with a shrug. Minato nodded and dismissed the operative before heading with Jiraiya into a sealed underground chamber. The walls were etched with complex sigils. Taking a deep breath, Minato formed a long series of hand signs. This was a technique he had designed in secret. a fusion of the Reaper death seal to summon souls from the afterlife, and the creation of all things, which used the Nine-Tails chakra to rebuild their bodies from memory and essence. Summoning jutsu, return from paradise, Minato roared, pressing his palms against the floor. But this time nothing happened. Minato, Jiraiya frowned. Did it fail? I don't understand, Minato muttered, trying again, several times. Nothing, everything's correct, so why won't it work? The seals are fine, Jiraiya noted grimly. Which means something or someone is blocking the technique from outside. Whoever killed those ANBU must have found a way to interfere with your summoning. This is very bad, Minato exhaled sharply. Sensei, I know you just returned from a mission, but I'll need you to assist the ANBU directly. Don't worry about me, kid, Jiraiya said, straightening. I'll bring some toads into the field, maybe even have Orochimaru lend a few snakes for support. With a puff of smoke, he vanished. Now alone, Minato steadied his breathing. His public speech was only minutes away. He couldn't afford to show anxiety in front of the villagers. Once it was over, he would summon an emergency council. Nodding to himself, he turned and left the chamber, heading toward the balcony where his address would begin. Little did he realize that Konoha was about to hear an entirely different message. Moments later, high above Konoha, "It's starting," Haku said softly, gazing down at the Hokage Tower and the ocean of villagers gathered below. "Will you move right away?" Naruto, once again appearing as Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto, watched as Minato stepped onto the balcony, greeted by roaring applause. "No," he said coldly. "I'll let him speak first. Then I'll make them all listen to me." Below, Minato lifted his hands to quiet the crowd. "I want to begin by saying how proud I am of Konoha," he declared warmly. "Our village grows stronger every day. For months now, peace has reigned. We stand as the mightiest, most prosperous nation of all, united and unshaken by war. With the return of our loved ones, our future shines brighter than ever." "I'm sorry, Minato," Naruto thought, his cane fading away to reveal his sword's sheath. "But that bright future ends tonight. I will be the fire that devours your illusion. Together, we'll march toward a radiant tomorrow bound by the will of fire," Minato shouted, his voice filled with conviction. That was the moment Naruto's faint smile appeared, a look that made Haku vanish several meters away in an instant, sensing what was coming. A crushing wave of pressure flooded the entire village, freezing every living being in place. Naruto drew his blade slowly, the steel gleaming with burning light. Kurama's anticipation rippled through him, and he could only agree with it. Flames surged along the sword's edge, consuming the air itself as he raised it toward the heavens. Then, with a voice that shook the village to its core, Naruto unleashed its true power. "Turn everything into ash." Ryujin Jaka, a sudden inferno swallowed Naruto, its blaze drawing every eye in Konoha. Ninjas and civilians alike craned their necks, convinced an assault had come upon them. They were not entirely wrong. From that infernal ocean, Minato made out the vague silhouette of a figure before torrents of fire slammed into the Hokage rock, striking the fourth's carved face dead center. The blow detonated with fierce force. The crowd watched in horror as Minato's stone visage was blasted away, the thirds and fifths' faces scarred and blackened by the heat. In mere seconds the inferno did its work. The flames vanished as abruptly as they had come, leaving a smoking void where Minato's face once was, and streaks of soot across the neighboring effigies. Gradually, the oppressive force that had crushed the village began to ease, allowing those bowed to the ground to stagger upright. Heads turned skyward, and where the flames had been there hovered an elderly man several meters above the plaza. A moment later a woman, garbed similarly, materialized at his side, both surveying the stunned crowd with calm expressions. "That's Genryusai," Minato thought, eyes wide. "He's airborne. Could he be kin to the third Tsuchikage?" "Konoha," Naruto's voice cut through the silence, steady and cold. "Your era of flouting life and death and treating the world's laws like toys is finished. I've been sent to make certain what transpired here never repeats." "Who are you?" Minato barked, springing to the summit of the Hokage Tower as a handful of ninja assembled beside him. "Have you come from Iwa?" "I answer to no hidden village, Namikaze Minato. I answer to nobody in this world," Naruto replied, lifting a hand and pointing up. "My service lies beyond this realm." The declaration seared through the crowd. Many fell mute, as if imagining divine wrath descending upon them. Your fourth Hawkage has committed atrocities that have summoned the attention of powers far past your ken. I'm here for that reason, and regrettably, because of his deeds, many among you will perish. Minato's gaze sharpened. What crimes? What I did was restore those we loved who never had a chance to live. Because of me, no one will dare start a war against us again. I ushered in peace. Naruto watched murmurs of assent ripple through the crowd and sighed. Fools! His spiritual pressure swelled suddenly, fainting the weak and driving others to their knees, foam at the mouths and tears streaming. You dared impersonate God, treating life and death as your prerogative. You have no comprehension of the havoc you wreak on the delicate cycle of rebirth. I suppose you never considered the fallout of your schemes. Is that right, father? Minato shuddered at the accusation, but before he could answer, Naruto and Haku were swallowed by detonations of white smoke that dampened the spiritual onslaught. When the haze cleared, everyone gaped at the two who stepped forth, especially at the young man who was an uncanny, younger likeness of their Hawkage, a scar marring his brow. Those who had once known Uzumaki Naruto were paling with disbelief. Minato, like many others, stood speechless at the sight of his son, older, hardened. A fragile hope rose within him, and he took a tentative step forward, calling hoarsely, "En Naruto." Naruto inclined his head. It's been a long time, father. 8 years by the calendar, at least, though for me it's felt far longer. Which is why I cannot anymore call myself your child, nor did I wish to. Still, I owe you a kind of thanks. If not for your actions, I would not be here. Minato staggered at the words. W, what do you mean? You think I'm the same Uzumaki Naruto you executed 8 years ago. I'm not the orange-clad academy joke who once shouted he'd be Hawkage. Naruto's tone cut like ice. I've been remade into something else, and I've come with a single directive. He leveled his blade at Minato. Right your wrongs and ensure they are never repeated. Minato's color faded. Naruto, you can't be serious. Minato, you and all who have been resurrected are condemned. Naruto stated with absolute finality, sending tremors through the assembly. Some recoiled, others openly defied him. You can't threaten our Hawkage. He wields control over death itself. The Shinigami serves him. A Jonin shouted, joined by others clamoring in outrage. The Shinigami, the blonde echoed, nodding slowly, can no longer be summoned. Those words tightened the crowd into a new panic. Minato and Jiraiya exchanged a single shocked thought. It was him. A few of your ANBU were slain earlier, Naruto continued without hesitation. Your beloved Hawkage cannot revive them. The Shinigami has been sealed away, forever beyond control. Skepticism and rising dread spread through the plaza. To restore balance to the cycle of rebirth, those brought back by his jutsu must die, but I won't act like some mindless executioner. He raised a finger. 1 week. In 7 days I return. I want all resurrected gathered outside Konoha, where they will be purified without bloodshed. You can't demand that. I don't know what shapes you into this, but if you're truly my son, then you know none of us will surrender our lives. Minato cried. Naruto, please, no reason to take lives, come back to us. We could be a family again. Naruto, the former captain commander implored. Kushina had moved to Minato's side. Please, I've dreamed of holding you again. We're family. Naruto shut his eyes briefly. Haku's look was anxious. When Naruto opened them, he met Kushina's gaze. You're not my family. The words landed like a blade. Your son died 8 years ago. I know what happened and I know Minato's plan. My whole life since has been a lie and I've come to hate illusions. He snarled inwardly at memories. My duty is paramount. I will carry out the Soul King's command and none of you will prevent me. Disregarding their pleading faces, Naruto slid his sword home. 3 ANBU had crept close behind him and Haku, identifiable by the Uzumaki red hair and talismans clutched in their hands. He vanished with a shunpo and reappeared behind them in a heartbeat. With a whip-fast motion worthy of a master swordsman, he drew and resheathed, slicing them cleanly at the waist. Their bodies toppled and were consumed by flame until nothing remained but ash. The crowd below recoiled, mute with horror at the brutality. 1 week, Naruto said as if reciting a weathered fact. Decide what you will do. Know this, anyone who stands between me and my mission will be turned to ash. With that, he and Haku vanished in another shunpo. Panic ignited like tinder. Civilians scattered, while ninja surged toward Hawkage Rock to assess the damage. Atop the Hawkage Tower, Minato and Kushina watched the spot where Naruto had disappeared. Minato, Jiraiya approached quietly. Was that really my son? Minato asked, eyes wet. Was that Naruto? Jiraiya exhaled, glancing skyward. The likeness is beyond doubt. He even called you father, though coldly. He turned to where Tsunade and Kakashi had joined them, both grim-faced. He claims to serve an entity called the Soul King. I've never heard of it, but those flames weren't to be trifled with. What do we do now? Kakashi asked, scanning the tense faces around them. Minato, Jiraiya said, placing a steady hand on his former pupil's shoulder, you heard his words before the flames. Use that, it might save us in this crisis. Minato could only nod, then give orders. Those around them dispersed to carry out his command, leaving only his immediate family. Dad, Naruto whispered, eyes wide with worry. Was that man our brother? Minato gathered Naruto and Miwako into his arms. I don't know, little one. I wish it weren't true, especially since he wants to kill us. And yet he was so like us. He won't hurt you, right? He's family, Miwako cried, tears streaking down her face. You're our father, he could never kill you. Minato forced a sad smile and folded Kushina into his embrace as she wept quietly. I don't know. I can only hope this can be resolved without anyone dying. Maybe in a week we'll find some way, and your big brother will come back to us. The two girls looked far from cheerful, yet they still hugged their parents, while Minato's eyes drifted back up toward the sky. He might have laughed if the scene hadn't been so grim. His son had come back, just as Minato had longed for, but his goal was to murder him and everyone else brought back to life. Fate certainly had a cruel sense of humor. Why give them a week? Naruto asked, glancing to the side. Because I'm no longer the monster I was 1,000 years ago. Had I stayed the same, I'd have started slaughtering every possible target without a second thought. Giving them 7 days will tell me if any of them recognize that their second life feels unnatural. Haku paused, then pointed ahead. Then why head this way? Naruto shrugged. Konoha has allies. Minato may have offered favors to them like he did to Gaara. We know Suna isn't allied with Konoha anymore, but back when I lived there were other alliances too. The young woman fell quiet until they stopped before a massive structure. A melancholic smile crossed her face. This place brings back a lot. The Great Naruto Bridge, Naruto said softly. Honestly, I'm surprised they kept that name. Why would they change it? After all, you're this country's hero. Haku walked beside him. It's strange to think I'd ever return to the place where Zabuza-sama and I died. If you'd rather stay, I won't force you. Haku shook her head. No, don't worry. Just because I died here once doesn't mean I'll die here again. There is one place I want to see. She looked at Naruto. You know where Zabuza and I are buried, yes. Naruto inclined his head and vanished in a shunpo. Haku followed moments later. Seconds later, they stood before 2 wooden crosses. On one hung the brown sash Haku once wore, and leaning against the other was Zabuza's fearsome blade. If you don't mind, Haku offered, smiling toward the markers. I'll go get some flowers. Take all the time you need, Naruto replied, then headed back toward the nearby village. I'll check if this place needs my help. He blinked out and reappeared by Tazuna's repaired house, thinking they managed to rebuild after that mission. He knocked. Inside, a familiar woman called out, Coming! The door opened a few seconds later to reveal Tsunami in plain clothes. Her puzzled look turned to shock as she recognized him. Good morning, Tsunami, Naruto said with a small bow and grin. Long time no see. NN Naruto, she whispered, staring like she'd seen a ghost. Is it really you? In the flesh, Naruto nodded. You're alive, but, her head spun and Tsunami fainted, collapsing backward. Before she hit the floor, Naruto scooped her up with one arm, lifting her without effort. He sighed and stepped inside. Yer, people are too easily moved. Konoha heavy, rhythmic impacts filled the air as someone pummeled a thick wooden post. Splinters and droplets of blood speckled the pole and the ground, but the attacker didn't appear to notice. Uchiha Sasuke had never been this raw with frustration. Not before, not after dying at Naruto's hands. He was an Uchiha elite, an ANBU captain with mission records that rivaled Kakashi's and his brothers. Ranked among Konoha's top fighters, wielding the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and listed in many villages' S-rank rosters. Yet nothing calmed him after what happened the previous night. Sasuke, his blows grew harder, deeper cracks spidering across the post. Sasuke! Without seals, he infused Raiten into his fists, and with frantic strikes, shattered the post into fragments until a poke on his forehead pulled him back. Enough of this, foolish little brother, Itachi said calmly. You're just making yourself worse. Itachi, Sasuke breathed, looking down. Since his clan's resurrection and his brother's return, small improvements had come, but after learning the truth behind the coup and Itachi's real mission, Sasuke couldn't simply return to who he'd been. He was less isolated now, conversing quietly with others. Even Itachi, who had shared eyes with him to give him the Mangekyo then the eternal form, but the massacre's shadow wouldn't lift. What's bothering you, Sasuke? Mother said you've been at that post for 3 hours. Itachi asked. Sasuke shook his head. You wouldn't understand. It's about Naruto, isn't it? Itachi said. Sasuke flinched, and that was answer enough. You're still frightened. Few knew this. After being resurrected, Sasuke had spent 2 months hospitalized for panic attacks and night terrors. Ino's father had delved into his mind and found something shocking. Each night Sasuke relived his fight with Naruto and died over and over, killed as 3 red chakra tails burst from Naruto's back. Minato had tried sealing that memory to calm him, but the dreams persisted. Itachi used his Sharingan to force Sasuke to face the nightmare once and for all. The treatment helped, but the memory remained, ready to strike. You don't know what it means to die being cut down so savagely while your enemy smiles. Sasuke shook his head. And now he's back, probably stronger. We all saw what he did to the Hokage Mountain. No Katen could have caused that alone. And you fear he'll carry out his threats, Itachi said, placing a hand on his shoulder. The Hokage already has multiple contingencies to deal with dangerous Jinchuriki. You'll be fine. Trust yourself and the people who'll stand with you. Sasuke exhaled and nodded. All right, I'll try. Good, go see your wife, she's more worried than mother is. Itachi smiled. Maybe it's time to think about grandchildren. A groan escaped Sasuke. Not you too, Land of Waves. So, you're alive again, and your mission is to kill the Hokage and everyone brought back. Tsunami asked, stunned, while Inari and Tazuna listened silently. Basically, Naruto answered. After they'd cried at his arrival, Inari and Tazuna helped revive Tsunami, and the former captain commander had told them about the events since his death, omitting some details for safety. Wow, you plan to take them all on. Even the first 2 Hokage were resurrected, weren't they? Inari said, eyes wide. I know. If I weren't capable of beating them, I wouldn't have been chosen for this. Naruto said, calmly sipping the tea Tsunami had made. Now I have a question for you. What is it? Tazuna asked, brow raised. Do you need a home or anything? Naruto smiled faintly and shook his head. No, I want to know if Minato gave you anything after I died and whether you accepted. Oh, Tazuna understood. If you mean no undead here. The Yondaime came by months after he returned and put seals on the bridge so it'd last. He snorted. No faith in my great bridge, Tsunami laughed. Because you were a hero to us, he asked forgiveness for your death and offered to bring back our loved ones. But we turned him down. Why? Naruto asked, curious. Simple, Inari said with a big grin. Bringing back those we lost wouldn't mean anything without you. It's because of you we moved on. Naruto smiled. I see. Then you have nothing to fear, unless, are you still allied with Konoha? More or less. Tazuna shrugged. A year after you died, we became neutral. Now we're a trading hub that deals with everyone. Good to know. When I finish, Konoha will be vulnerable, likely a target for Iwa or Kumo. If you're neutral, you won't be at risk. Naruto stood. Do you know anything about Konoha's other allies? I can't say I'm completely up to speed, but from what I recall, Taki and the Land of Demons remain allies, whereas the Land of Spring has stayed neutral, much like us, for the past 5 years. Tazuna said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Good, that means Kayuki won't be a concern, Naruto thought before nodding. Thanks for the information. I have some business to attend to before I head back to Konoha. Tsunami and her family looked somewhat regretful at his departure, yet they escorted him to the door nonetheless. Please be careful. We don't know the full extent of your abilities and Minato could act rashly just like before, Tazuna warned, his face etched with concern. Naruto gave a confident grin. Don't worry. He might have a few tricks, but I have over 1,000 years of experience, and he's barely 40. Waving farewell to the small family, he activated Shunpo and vanished, appearing beside Haku in an instant. "We can move on if you're ready." The young woman nodded, pausing to lay a garland of flowers on Zabuza's grave before following him back toward the bridge. "Do you have a place in mind?" "Yes, Taki," Naruto replied calmly. "Even when I was alive, they were allies of Konoha. Minato may have resurrected some of their shinobi like Shibuki's father." "Will you give them a week to respond?" Haku asked. "No, not this time. Even if Minato revived anyone, their numbers will never match Konoha's. One day should be enough," Naruto explained as they walked along the bridge bearing his name. After a few steps, he stopped abruptly. Haku noticed, but didn't speak before Naruto turned sharply, drawing his sword and slicing a tree nearby. The massive trunk fell, dust rising from the impact, yet Naruto continued to observe it for several seconds before sheathing his weapon. "Someone was here." Haku narrowed her eyes. "A Konoha shinobi?" "No, I only sensed it briefly, but the presence wasn't human," Naruto said, moving again. "Whatever it was, it got away before I could strike. That's no small feat. It must be extremely clever to detect your attack and escape," Haku murmured, frowning. "Perhaps, but I didn't feel any malice. It seemed more like someone merely observing. For what reason, I don't know." Naruto dismissed the encounter and vanished with Shunpo. Haku lingered a moment, staring at the fallen tree before following. Unknown location. So, the Yondaime Hokage's son has really returned. A tall, semi-transparent figure perched on a finger of a colossal stone hand asked, scanning the surroundings with his red and green eyes. "Apparently, and he left a clear warning for all of Konoha," a smaller crouching figure replied. "My informants provided all the details." "Ha, I never imagined meeting someone as artistic as me." Another figure laughed, his hair covering one eye. Their conversation was interrupted when a giant carnivorous plant began rising from the ground to the center of the cave. A figure with purple eyes and concentric circles looked down. "Zetsu, you've returned," he said, narrowing his gaze. Though not unscathed. The plant's upper section split open, revealing a half-black, half-white man with green hair. From the figures atop the stone fingers, they noticed a portion of the plant's jaws had been severed. Zetsu focused on the last speaker. "Naruto noticed us before we could even surface," the white half said nervously. "Yes, without our technique, we would have perished immediately," the black half growled. "He didn't even use chakra to sever that tree remotely. A swordsman now, is he?" The tall figure with a massive weapon on his back smirked. "Seems so, but aside from confronting us directly, he's done nothing noteworthy," Zetsu observed. "He visited a small family and left. His companion spent all her time at 2 graves." The lone female figure looked at Pain. "Your thoughts?" "For now, we leave him be," Pain replied. "If Sasori's intel is correct, he'll deal with the Yondaime Hokage and anyone revived by his technique. Once they're weakened, we can intervene and extract the Kyuubi from both father and son if it remains." "And the other Biju?" Sasori asked. "Kakuzu and Hidden should be near Taki, targeting the Nanabi's Jinchuriki," Pain said, ignoring their side chatter. "The Sanbai, Yanbai, and Rokubai have already been secured. Once the Nanabi is captured, we'll proceed to the Ikibai. Sasori, Deidara, this mission is yours, do not fail." "Understood, leader," they answered, vanishing like the others. Only Pain, Konan, Zetsu, and 2 others remained. Pain addressed the silent pair. "You'll go with Zetsu to the land of demons. Investigate the demons sealed by the Yondaime Hokage. It may prove useful." A shadowed grin was all that responded. "As you wish, leader." Several kilometers away, Kasame Hoshigaki opened his eyes, stretching as he turned to his partner. "Nothing pressing at the moment. Any ideas, Madara?" A single Sharingan stared back from behind an orange spiral mask. "We continue gathering intel on Naruto's return. If we encounter Konoha shinobi, we eliminate them. And yes, Minato can't use his jutsu anymore," the figure said, narrowing his eye. "Stop calling me that." "Whatever you say, Madara," Kasame grinned. Tobai Abaito Uchiha sighed. His life had gone downhill over the past few years. 8 years ago, he had attempted to save Naruto and extract the Kyuubi, only to fail because Minato and Kushina had sealed Konoha against him. Plans to capture all Biju in the Jido Mazo were thwarted, and Abaito had bitterly cursed Minato and his former sensei, realizing too late the full extent of Itachi's actions. Now paired with Kasame, Abido marched toward Iwa, intending to check the Gobi's Jinchuriki defenses. Better to focus on the task than dwell on the past, he thought. Konoha's soft footsteps echoed through the Hyuga compound as Hinata approached a room. She paused to request entry, but a serene voice answered first. "You may enter, Hinata. No need for formalities." Smiling, Hinata slid the door open to see a woman seated on the porch, gazing at a blooming tree. She wore a turquoise kimono, and her long purple hair cascaded down her back. Without a word, Hinata sat beside her. "What brings you here, my daughter?" Hitomi Hyuga asked kindly. I need to talk about something," Hinata admitted, unable to meet her mother's eyes. "About Naruto, isn't it?" Hitomi observed, noting her daughter's reaction. "I understand. From your stories over the years, seeing him like this must have been a shock." Hinata nodded slowly. I should have confessed my feelings 8 years ago. Now he's back, but he's forced to do terrible things." Her voice trembled. "Some are training to stop him, others are unsure." Hitomi placed a comforting hand on her daughters. "I'm sure they'll support each other, but that's not why you came, is it? You're worried about what will happen when he arrives." Hinata's eyes welled with tears as she embraced her mother tightly. "I don't want to lose you. Even if the Hokage and others try to stop Naruto, what if they fail? I can't lose you, not again." Hitomi returned the hug, her smile never fading as she gently ran her fingers through her daughter's hair. "If that really comes to pass, I won't regret it. I was given the chance to witness what a remarkable woman you've become despite my absence. Nothing lasts forever, my child. Even if Minato keeps using his techniques to stretch our lives, those years would be hollow and devoid of meaning." Hinata began to weep quietly against her. "Nothing is guaranteed. It's also possible Naruto reconsiders and everything calms down. Don't surrender to despair, okay? That's the quickest road to ruin." Hinata gave a small nod but kept crying in her mother's lap until exhaustion took her and she fell asleep. Hours later, after the sun had dropped below the horizon, Hitomi glanced up at the blooming tree and noticed a single petal land on her palm before the breeze whisked it away. Her hand still smoothing Hinata's hair, Hitomi exhaled softly, then her expression hardened with resolve. "Only 6 days left. The next morning, Taki, you still enjoy flirting with danger, don't you, Naruto?" Shibuki asked with an amused grin while regarding the two figures across his desk. "Let's say I haven't lost my edge." Naruto replied with a slight smile. Careful to avoid any Konoha watchers, Naruto and Haku had used Shunpo to materialize inside Shibuki's office when they learned he was alone, startling the young leader of Taki. To put it mildly, his old friend was glad to see him aside from the heart attack. "I can tell," Shibuki said, then turned to Haku. "Is she one of your teammates?" "Yes, we've fought together for several years." Naruto answered in his calm tone, then asked, "I suppose you've already heard from Konoha. If you're talking about your stunt at the festival in Konoha last night, then yes." Shibuki glanced back at him. "A message from the Hokage came in yesterday via a special seal for fast communication. Given what that message described, I assume you're here for the same reason." "Only if someone's been resurrected, Shibuki. I won't slaughter people who had nothing to do with this," Naruto said, fixing his old friend with a hard look. After a few seconds, Shibuki smiled. "Then you don't need to worry, Naruto." Shibuki stared out the window. "Your father came here 8 years ago to assist us, leaving seals and other tools to strengthen the village. We accepted the gifts, but I absolutely refused to employ his jutsu." Naruto cocked an eyebrow. "Why's that?" "My father used to say, a village's strength shows itself when the new generation surpasses the old." Shibuki replied fondly. "If I'd chosen to revive those who died protecting the village, I would have, in a way, tainted their legacy and stunted the village's growth. I plan for Taki to rise as one of the strongest hidden villages without leaning on those who have passed." "You're young, yet you have the wisdom of a seasoned leader," Haku said with a smile. "Under your guidance, I'm sure your village will prosper." "Thank you." Shibuki inclined his head toward her, then began, "Now would you like to?" His sentence was cut short by a faint tremor through the building, and a powerful, demonic pressure felt across the village. "Naruto," Haku said, glancing at the blonde swordsman. "That kind of presence." "Yeah, a Jinchuriki," Naruto replied, nodding, then looked at his friend. "Was it expected that this village's Jinchuriki would be training with that power today?" "No. Fu never trains tapping into her Biju's chakra because she knows the village would despise her even more. Shibuki answered, shame flickering across his face. Even after all these years. Then this could be trouble. Stay here, Haku and I will check it out. With that, Naruto and Haku vanished with a shunpo, leaving a worried Shibuki behind. The two former Godai 13 captains reappeared several miles away at the rim of what looked like a battlefield. Trees lay toppled or burned, the ground pockmarked with craters, and scattered shuriken and kunai littered the area. Nearby, two men in black cloaks patterned with red clouds were moving toward a green-haired girl collapsed in a pool of blood. I told you to finish her quickly, Hidden. She transformed and used the Biju chakra. Kakuzu muttered in a low voice. Grab her and we leave. Shut the fuck up, Kakuzu, Hidden snarled, pulling a black spear from his lower abdomen. The ritual must be prepared carefully, or the offering to Jashin-sama is worthless. Naruto watched silently before suffusing the whole area with his Ryatsu, freezing the two Akatsuki members in place. Kakuzu and Hidden slowly turned to face him, stunned to find him standing a few meters away with Haku, who looked utterly unperturbed by the oppressive aura. So you two are Akatsuki, Naruto said in a solemn tone, memories of confronting Kasame and Itachi on the Tsunade retrieval mission flitting through his mind. I wondered what happened to you in the past years, but it seems Minato didn't succeed in eliminating you despite his power. Oi, who the hell are you? Hidden barked. Shut up, Hidden, Kakuzu hissed through the weight of the pressure. He's Naruto Uzumaki, son of the fourth Hokage. Really? Hidden cackled manically. He'll be a perfect sacrifice for Jashin-sama. They're strong enough to withstand your Ryatsu. Haku observed calmly, then vanished with a shunpo and returned a second later with Fu cradled in her arms, surprising both Akatsuki members. Hey bitch, that's our prey, Hidden roared, enraged, but Haku ignored him and set to healing the girl who barely managed to open an eye. Who? Don't speak, you're still weak. Haku replied with a gentle smile, then looked to Naruto. I know our task isn't about saving the living, but… Naruto nodded, a grin forming on his face. Don't worry, for now we should be fine. Their auras are similar to those of the reanimated, yet different enough. Haku raised an eyebrow and used the special eyesight the Shinigami had granted them. It appears they somehow cheated death and continued living. In that case, Naruto amplified his Ryatsu and drew his blade, its edge already wreathed in flames, then slashed outward. The flames devoured the ground before him in an instant, but Naruto swiftly dispersed them and shifted his gaze to the right. Good reflexes, he noted, watching the Akatsuki pair now on alert. Maybe you two will give me a measure of how much strength I've regained since my last moments as Commander-in-Chief. What the hell are you on about, brat? Hidden screamed, brandishing his scythe. Yer, looks like you'll be the first child I have to discipline, Naruto said, then pointed a finger at Kakuzu. Bakudo 61, Rikujikoro. Kakuzu barely perceived a flash of yellow light before the 6 beams of binding light materialized and pinned him at the waist. What is this? Just a way to hold you while I deal with your friend, Naruto explained, then turned his attention to Hidden, who immediately lunged at him. Hidden swung his scythe, but Naruto sidestepped, watching as 3 blades embedded themselves in the ground. Your strikes are too straightforward and easy to read, Naruto observed without looking directly at Hidden, then struck with the back of his left hand, hurling the Jashin devotee into a tree several meters away. Fuck you, Hidden spat, swinging his weapon and using the chain to redirect it, trying to strike Naruto from the right. Naruto simply raised one hand, pinching the chain blade between 2 fingers and holding it fast. Hidden strained to pull, discovering Naruto's superior strength, while the blonde remained calm. You're still a novice with that weapon, Naruto said coolly. That kid from the 9th Division could teach you a thing or two about Kusariga Majutsu. Hidden cursed and raged, but Naruto sighed, then flung the scythe back at the monk, driving it through his chest and pinning him to a tree. You bastard, Hidden growled, surprising both Naruto and Haku. That actually hurts. Oh, Naruto raised an eyebrow. You're still alive after that. He's immortal, Fu whispered, catching their attention. He can't die. We'll see about that, Naruto replied, watching Hidden wrench the weapon from his own chest. Fucking brat, I'll kill you and offer your blood to Jashin-sama, Hidden screamed as he charged, but Naruto materialized before him and punched him squarely in the chest, sending him hurtling through trees and boulders. Are you just a mindless killer who's only good at slaying? Naruto asked through one half-opened eye, then parried a black spear with his katana, slicing it in two as Hidden descended once more with his scythe. How pathetic! With his free hand, Naruto seized Hidden's head and slammed him into the earth, forming a crater and shattering much of his bones. Sheathing his sword, Naruto turned to return to Haku when he sensed motion behind him, and without looking, knew Hidden was stirring again. Give it up already, it's pathetic to keep striking at something so hopeless. You filthy! Hidden lunged once more, using the last of his strength to try and land a blow on Naruto. Have you heard of the word stop? The man snarled before collapsing on top of him. You brat! In a blink, Naruto unsheathed his sword again, and a swirl of flames swallowed Hidden. It lasted mere heartbeats, but when the fire died down, there was no trace left of the missing nin, not even ashes, which left Fu and Kakuzu staring in disbelief. What on earth is he? Kakuzu thought as he stared at the place where his partner had just vanished. Hidden wasn't the strongest in Akatsuki, but he could still beat many opponents, and yet that kid dispatched him like a freshly graduated genin. Now, Naruto's focus shifted, and he spoke directly to Kakuzu. I think it's your turn. The beams of light that had pinned Kakuzu dissolved into the air, freeing him to move, though the former Taki shinobi remained frozen, unwilling to strike. I can't take him on. Maybe the leader could hope to contend with this thing, Kakuzu reasoned, while Naruto casually planted his katana on the ground, opened his kimono and haori to reveal a sculpted torso that would have made anyone take notice. Is he challenging me to a fight without weapons? I'll need a mask or two as a diversion to make my escape. You don't want to strike first? Naruto asked, appearing before Kakuzu with a shunpo. Fine, I'll lead. Before Kakuzu could react, Naruto landed twin punches to his chest. Sakatsu! The agony that ripped through Kakuzu was indescribable. His coat exploded away as four masks flew free from his form, shattering into pieces and releasing a spatter of strange gray tendrils. In the next instant, Kakuzu's chest ruptured and his body tore apart, chunks of flesh and organs flying along with the writhing tendrils. Kakuzu, once a shinobi of Taki, one of the oldest survivors and among the few to have faced Hashirama Senju, had been felled with a single strike. Amazing, Fu breathed, eyes wide. He took down two Akatsuki without taking a scratch. Now that he was close, she could almost drown in the force radiating from him. Such strength, that muscular frame. The last thought brought a soft chuckle from her Biju, making her cheeks flame. How is she? Naruto asked, readjusting his kimono. Stable but weakened. It'll be a few days before she's back to full strength, Haku replied, having discreetly examined Naruto and Fu with a small smile. We should bring her to Shibuki. He can let her recuperate without any trouble. Naruto nodded, grasped his sword, and with Haku lifting Fu, they vanished in a shunpo, leaving Kakuzu's remains behind. When they reappeared in Shibuki's office, the leader couldn't suppress a startled shout as he glared at Naruto. His shock turned to worry on seeing the green-haired girl in Haku's arms. Fu! He rushed over as Haku set the young kunoichi on a sofa. What happened? Two Akatsuki members attacked and tried to abduct her before we arrived, Naruto explained. They won't be a problem anymore. Shibuki exhaled with visible relief. Thank you. That means a great deal. Don't mention it, Naruto waved off. I had the feeling they'd eventually become my enemies, so I took care of it now. Besides, they had the same aura as those resurrected beings. I see. Shibuki nodded, glancing at Fu, who was now peacefully asleep. Naruto, may I ask a favor? What is it? Could you keep Fu with you? Naruto and Haku exchanged puzzled, surprised looks. She's a good, capable kunoichi, but the villagers still won't accept her after all these years. I fear my shinobi might sell her out rather than protect her. I'd sleep easier knowing she's at your side. Naruto considered him for a moment before shaking his head. I can't do that, Shibuki. Soon I'll be facing practically all of Konoha, and if they saw Fu with me, they'd think you betrayed them. I can, however, find her a place to live where she won't face discrimination. Shibuki thought it over, then nodded. Understood. In that case, I'll accept. I hope she doesn't resent me for this. She won't be out of your reach, Naruto said with a small smile. The Land of Waves isn't so far that you couldn't visit. The Taki leader returned the smile and after a few more details, invited them to dinner at his home, away from curious ears. In the following days, Naruto visited Kayuki to greet her and update her on his mission since returning, while Haku accompanied Fu to Tazuna's house, where the Jinchuriki was warmly welcomed into the family, to her delight. A week passed. Konoha outskirts. A thin mist clung to the air as dawn's first light filtered through the forest and the wildlife began to stir. In that almost dreamlike morning, Naruto appeared in a clearing and scanned ahead for those who had agreed to meet him. He raised an eyebrow at what he found. "Well, this is unexpected. Is that report correct?" Pain asked, staring down at Zetsu's form. "Yes, absolutely, we'd never lie about something like this." The white half of Zetsu squeaked, anxious and frightened. "We only managed to retrieve Kakuzu's ring from his remains. Whatever animated him is gone." The black half snapped in anger. No sign of Hidden, and much of the battlefield was incinerated. And Taki's shinobi say their Jinchuriki disappeared, although they felt the Biju's chakra for a while. Konan glanced from Zetsu to the orange-haired man. "Pain, this is certainly the work of the son of the fourth Hokage. Indeed, our intel indicates the Nanabi's Jinchuriki couldn't control her Biju. Hidden and Kakuzu should have easily subdued her." He narrowed his eyes. "But somehow Naruto Uzumaki located and eliminated them." "What do we do now?" Konan asked calmly. "We should converge and kill him. He cost us 2 members." Zetsu growled, but Pain lifted a hand to stop him. "No, if we attacked all at once, he could take out several of us and that would derail my plan," their leader said, looking toward the rain. "Zetsu, locate the Nanabi's Jinchuriki. Once you find her, report to me immediately. I will capture her myself." Zetsu bowed and sank into the earth as Pain climbed to the tip of a giant statue and sat. Konan watched him for a moment before departing. "Can you defeat a god like me, Naruto Uzumaki?" Pain wondered as he stared up at the sky. "Soon we'll clash, and then we'll see if your justice holds against mine." Konoha, "Well, this is unexpected," Naruto said, eyeing the crowd before him. He'd guessed no one would show up, so seeing roughly 100 people gathered in the clearing was a pleasant surprise. Small, compared to the number revived by Minato, but a beginning. From what he could sense, they were civilians, no shinobi among them. Stepping forward, Naruto scanned the faces and noticed some he vaguely recognized, people he'd seen in life as Naruto Uzumaki. "If I had to guess, many of these died in the invasion during the Chunin exams." The former captain commander mused before pausing when a woman with long purple hair approached, her Byakugan obvious. "Interesting, I didn't expect a Hyuga here." "Greetings, Uzumaki Naruto," she said with a bow. "I'm Hitomi Hyuga. You can consider me the representative of this small group." Naruto nodded. "Did you organize this?" She offered a sad smile. "No, when we gathered, they chose me as the spokesperson because of my standing in the village." Her expression grew serious. "May I ask you something?" Naruto was silent for a few seconds, then inclined his head. "There have been many children born in the last 8 years to those revived by Minato. Will you kill them too?" Hitomi asked, and several people looked at him with worry. Naruto, however, shook his head. "No, children born in the last 8 years aren't part of my task. Their parents will be purified and eliminated, but the new generation won't suffer physical harm because of their parents." His voice was calm but resolute. "And before you ask, I won't spare anyone brought back to life. My mission is too important to leave unfinished. Of course, I would prefer everyone acted like you, but life doesn't always give you that." "I understand." Hitomi glanced down for a beat, then offered him a sorrowful smile. "Then I have nothing more to ask." Naruto watched her rejoin the cluster of civilians, then turned back to his duty. "Line up. Come to me one at a time, I'll purify each of you." They obeyed and formed a line. A middle-aged man stepped forward first. Naruto drew his sword, the sight of the blade making several onlookers flinch. "Don't be afraid," Naruto said. "I won't use the edge, only the hilt. You are alive, yes, but your presence resembles that of a plus. The technique should still affect you." Without further commentary, he tapped the man's forehead with the pommel. A mark flared on the skin. Under the astonished gazes of everyone there, the man's body began to fissure like cracked porcelain, and then dissolved into the air. While others only saw the physical vanishing, Naruto perceived the man's soul leaving with the body, proof that his kanso had worked. Truthfully, he had doubts about where those souls would end up. Minato's method had artificially brought many of them back, so they might not be returning to the Soul Society, but Naruto preferred this approach to simply destroying the resurrected people outright. One by one, he purified those gathered until only one remained. Naruto regarded Hitomi with level eyes. "You still have something to tell me, don't you?" She simply kept her gaze on him and tried another sad smile. "We never met when I was alive, though I always wished we had. You likely don't know, but I'm Hinata's mother." If Naruto was taken aback, he didn't show it. "After I came back, Hinata told me so much about you, how you stood up for her against the bullies when you were kids, how you inspired her not to give up. For that, I want to thank you." The former Captain Commander exhaled. "Are you asking me to spare your daughter?" Hitomi's surprise was faint. "You knew." "Yes." Naruto's tone was flat. "Let's say my sight helped me piece things together. Of the so-called Konoha 13, 7 have been resurrected. Sasuke was the first. I killed him 8 years ago." He hesitated, recalling how Minato had forced his hand. "The others include your daughter and her 2 teammates, plus all of Team 10. Hitomi could only nod, clasping her right hand with the left. "How did they die?" Naruto asked. She inhaled sharply as if steadying her pulse. When she spoke, the fear was audible. 4 years ago, Hinata was on a mission with Kiba and Shino. They'd been promoted to Chunin and were sent alone, a simple C-rank job. They ran into a band of missing nin who wanted Hinata's Byakugan. Hinata and her friends fought most of them off, but then 2 monsters appeared. Her eyes burned with loathing. Sasori of the Red Sand and Deidara the Mad Bomber, members of Akatsuki, attacked them. They slaughtered everyone, and Sasori, that monster, took Hinata and her comrades' bodies. Despite all the village forces, we could never find Sasori to confirm my suspicion, but I am certain he turned Hinata into a puppet. Naruto listened in silence. Then he watched Hitomi lower herself to the ground and press her forehead to the earth. Any Hyuga who saw the clan head's wife prostrate herself to an enemy would have been shocked. "So please, save Hinata. She's young and kind with a pure heart. She shouldn't have to die again for someone else's crimes. I beg you, save her." A hush fell. She did not lift her head to meet Naruto's eyes. When he finally said, "I'm sorry," her chest tightened. "This is an imperative task assigned by the Soul King. The balance of the cycle of rebirth depends on what I do, and I can't disobey. I'm sorry, but your daughter and her teammates must be eliminated along with the others." Still bowed, Hitomi choked back a sob. "I see," she whispered, then vanished in a flash, closing the distance to Naruto in an instant. Her Byakugan flared and her hand shot out to strike his chest at the heart. Her blow never landed. Using her Byakugan, Hitomi didn't need to turn to see Haku's face peering at her. Haku had seized the striking wrist with an iron grip. After a brief stalemate, the fury on Hitomi's visage crumbled, and tears of heat and shame streamed down her face as she dropped to her knees. Naruto nodded toward Haku. She released Hitomi, who no longer attempted to attack but only wept. "I couldn't protect her as she was growing. Even now I can't change it," Hitomi sobbed. "Fate was cruel to you," Naruto said, lifting his sword. "If it helps at all, I promise Hinata will not suffer when her time comes." Hitomi nodded, her voice failing her. A single touch and both body and soul were swept away on the wind. Naruto slid his blade back into its sheath. Haku turned toward a nearby tree. "You can come out now." Moments later, Itachi Uchiha stepped from cover and approached, stopping a few meters away from them. "Naruto, Itachi." Itachi regarded the woman beside Naruto. "You must be Haku." She raised an eyebrow, surprised he knew her name. "Yes, how do you know my name? When you showed up at the festival, my brother thought your face seemed familiar." Sakura claimed the same. "Looking back at Team 7's first C-rank report revealed your name alongside Mamachi Zabuza's." Itachi spoke plainly, then added, "By now the Hokage and others know of your identity." Haku wasn't perturbed by that remark. Naruto, however, asked the question that had been on both their minds. "Why are you here, Itachi? You haven't been resurrected, and although you should be dead by now, your aura isn't anomalous enough to be counted among the other returns." Itachi's brows rose at Naruto's earlier observation. "So he can tell who's been brought back." His eyes shifted yellow and black for a moment. "Could it be a Dojutsu?" He answered calmly. "If you mean my illness, Tsunade cured me with help from the Uzumaki and their sealing techniques. As to why I'm here, I wanted to understand your motives." He continued, gaze steady. You were raised here, Naruto. Why would you do this to your own village? Does your previous life matter so little? Naruto shook his head. You're sharp, but you overlook things that should be obvious. By now you should know my powers aren't ordinary, they go beyond a mere Jinchuriki. Tell me, what do you think happens after death? Itachi considered the question. Our souls enter a cycle of rebirth. When you destroyed your father's statue, you mentioned something similar. Naruto nodded. There are many realms beyond this one, all governed by the Soul King, whom I served for over 2,000 years. Itachi's surprise was visible. Naruto pressed on. One of those realms is the Soul Society. You could call it a kind of paradise. When someone dies, their soul reaches that place, and the rebirth process occurs. Minato upset that balance, which had stood for ages. He fixed Itachi with a cold stare. I served the Soul King a long time, and those 13 years in that place were worse than anything I've experienced in the Soul Society. Itachi stood silent a moment, then said, So you're only carrying out your duty? Yes. I understand. Then I suppose the shinobi of Konoha will try to stop you. To underline his point, Itachi activated his Sharingan in both eyes. You are children to me, Naruto said, unimpressed. Though I wonder why no one else turned up. Did Minato order them not to come? Quite the opposite, the king announced publicly that no ninja or civilian would be opposed if they came this morning. Itachi's reply surprised Naruto. Yet no one accepted because if you succeed, Konoha would be gravely weakened, and other villages might seize the chance. Fair enough. Naruto rubbed his chin. Still, I will complete my task. Suddenly, his spiritual pressure expanded to blanket the area, making Itachi wince as he fought for breath though he stayed standing. I advise you to deactivate your Sharingan and walk away. You are not one of my targets, but if you interfere, I won't hesitate to strike you down. Then the pressure eased and Naruto began to turn away. Behind him, the sounds of many techniques sounded, and with a resigned sigh he glanced back to see Itachi holding a plain katana, its blade perhaps shorter than usual. Didn't you catch that, brat? Itachi simply tightened his hold on his sword's hilt. Naruto shook his head once and spoke a single name. Haku! Itachi's pupils widened in surprise. He barely had time to pivot and lift his blade to block Haku's incoming strike. She stood composed, holding her sword in one hand, her face impassive. Without pause, she unleashed a flurry of lightning-fast slashes from shifting angles. Thanks to his Sharingan, Itachi managed to parry almost everything and even attempted to counter. But Haku effortlessly slipped behind him with uncanny speed each time and resumed the assault without mercy. Very quick reflexes, Haku observed without slowing. Your Sharingan helps a lot, but you clearly have an aptitude for close combat. Itachi blocked another blow, then found himself locked in place. His eyes changed, no longer a simple Sharingan but a pattern like a six-bladed shuriken, 3 blades dark, 3 blades crimson. Thanks, but it's time to finish this. Itachi said, staring into her eyes. Tsukiyomi realm. Haku glanced around and realized she stood inside a shadowy woods under a blood-red sky lit by a crimson moon. This is the reality shaped by Tsukiyomi. With the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, my genjutsu is far stronger. For the next 72 hours you will be trapped within this illusion, Itachi's voice announced. Suddenly Haku was reflected in an ice mirror, and a chill of dread gripped her. Ahead she saw a young Naruto kneeling beside Sasuke's limp body, consumed by a dense red-orange chakra. This is... I'll kill you. Before she could react, Naruto lunged, smashing a fist into her face and sending her flying meters away. Haku staggered up, realizing she now had a child's body again. She felt the mask on her face begin to crumble. Then she heard it, the sound of birds. 1,000 chirps at once. Zabuza! She moved without hesitation. By instinct, she slipped into an ice mirror, and as she emerged, Kakashi drove an electrified hand through her chest. She vomited blood but did not die. Kakashi withdrew his hand and laid her on the bridge. Eyes still open, Haku watched Zabuza charge to his doom among a mob of attackers. Every stab, every shattered bone, every strike, she felt each one reverberate through her. Finally, she watched Zabuza collapse into a spreading pool of blood after finishing his target. She could not call out his name. She could not scream. She was forced to replay that scene, alternately seeing it through Zabuza's perspective than her own. Over and over, with no power to change a single thing, for 72 hours straight. Real world, Itachi studied Haku without moving. She had slumped under Tsukuyomi's pressure but still maintained a blade-pressing posture. He counted slowly in his mind, 3 seconds. The span he estimated corresponded to 72 hours in the illusion. Time should be up. She ought to collapse now, the Sharingan user thought. But Haku did not sink to her knees. She lifted her head. Even with his stoic control, Itachi felt his body shiver when he met her eyes. She smiled, a smile so hollow and chilling it rattled him. A murderous aura radiated from her, freezing him in place. Methodically, she raised her free hand and laid it against her katana's edge. Drink, Kubikirabacho. Acting on reflex, Itachi layered chakra over his blade, but Haku slashed horizontally and sent him hurtling into a tree at the clearing's border. The wind rushed out of him. When he hit the ground, he realized both arms were numb. Incredible strength. She could rival Tsunade, he thought as he watched a massive orange chakra cloak his body and a huge skeletal form begin to materialize behind him. He stared at Haku's blade. Kubikirabacho, I believed that sword was in the land of waves. Her grin remained fixed, terrifying as ever. She drew the sword closer. She's as dangerous as Naruto. I can't hope to stop her unless I unleash everything I have. A great surge of orange chakra cloaked him, and the skeletal figure loomed behind him as Haku once again touched her blade. Ban! Haku! One word halted everything. Both Itachi and Haku turned toward Naruto, who held a slip of paper. Despite his pain, Itachi recognized the marking stamped on it. That's an alert seal. If someone channels chakra into it, every holder will be notified, he thought, eyes narrowing. We assumed Naruto couldn't use chakra anymore, but my eyes tell me otherwise. He can still perform basic seals. Itachi had deduced Naruto's recent activities. Over the past week, the young man had been testing whether his chakra and old techniques still worked. With Gaara's help, he had also learned basic sealing arts and made a set of alert talismans he distributed to his allies just in case. We must go, something's wrong with Gaara, Naruto declared firmly, then looked down at Itachi. This is the one time I'll let you live, brat. I have more important matters to handle, and besides, we were the ones who attacked you first. With that, he vanished using Shunpo. Haku kept her gaze on Itachi for a long beat before reverting her Zanpakuto to its dormant form, the terrifying smile melting into a calm expression. Next time you won't be so lucky. She then disappeared. This is bad. She's practically at cage tier and Naruto stopped her by merely speaking her name, Itachi thought as the skeletal projection dissipated behind him. I need to inform the Hokage. And quickly. It took effort, but Itachi pulled himself upright and began toward the village, hoping whatever had drawn Naruto's attention would occupy him long enough. Suna, what happened here? Naruto demanded, scanning Temari and the smoke columns rising from the settlement. The Akatsuki struck just before dawn. Gaara fought one of them who used strange explosives. He expended all his chakra protecting the village and was taken, Temari explained, worried. Kankuro was beaten and poisoned. We don't have an antidote yet. Naruto's eyes tightened. Did anyone see which way they went? Northwest. One of them formed a huge, pure white bird and flew that way, a ninja answered, pointing. Naruto nodded and asked Haku, can you help treat the wounded? The ex-captain of the 4th Division smiled and inclined her head. I'll help the injured, then I'll join you, she said. Then quietly, if you can keep one of them alive, please try. Temari shivered at those words, but Naruto remained composed and nodded before vanishing with Shunpo. Haku turned back to Gaara's sister. Take me to the hospital. Every second counts. Several miles from Suna, that went off well, Deidara said with a grin, watching the limp Gaara being carried in his clay bird's beak. You were slow, Sasori retorted. Zetsu told us Hiden and Kakuzu are dead. It will take longer to seal the Ikibai. Relax, will you? We've captured the Jinchuriki. Now it's just a matter of transporting him to base and the plan is complete, Deidara said, shaking his head. In that case, I won't let you get away with this. Deidara and Sasori's eyes snapped upward to where the voice had come from, stunned to see Naruto hovering above them. The former captain commander wasted no time, slashing a wing off the clay construct so it began to tumble toward the desert below, but both Akatsuki members landed cleanly. Naruto reappeared a few meters away. Deidara threw small white clay spiders that immediately expanded and detonated as they approached the blonde swordsman. The Iwa rogue smiled at first, but his grin faded when Naruto remained unscathed and steady. "I'd appreciate it if you didn't ruin my Haori. It's important to me," Naruto said calmly, though both Akatsuki could tell he was ready to fight. Deidara glanced toward Gaara's unconscious form trapped in the creation's mouth, and that movement did not go unnoticed. "Don't even think about it," Naruto said flatly. "Although I have other targets, I will not let you kill Gaara." His eyes briefly flashed yellow and black as he fixed Sasori. "Even if you're on my list. Your body reeks of death, and yet you're still breathing." "I wonder why," Sasori said in a deep, unbothered tone, seemingly unfazed by the unfolding situation. "Deidara, secure the Jinchuriki and take him to the hideout. As for this meddler, he could make a very fine puppet if handled correctly." "Puppet," Naruto repeated, narrowing his eyes with suspicion. "So you—" His words were cut short as two massive clay centipedes erupted from the sand, coiling tightly around him. Deidara smirked triumphantly before dashing toward Gaara. With a flourish, he raised his hand. "Art is an explosion! Katsu!" The centipedes detonated, sending up clouds of sand and smoke. While Naruto was momentarily obscured, Deidara formed another clay bird, scooped up Gaara, and flew off toward a distant forest. Sasori remained alone with Naruto, the master puppeteer producing a long metallic tail that slowly writhed before striking at the barely visible figure through the haze. He wasn't surprised when his assault failed. Naruto had caught the tail's tip between two fingers, his expression unimpressed. "There are few who could withstand that," Sasori admitted, attempting to retract the tail to no avail. "Your strength is impressive." Naruto remained silent, then vanished with a shunpo, reappearing directly beside Sasori. Before the Suna missing nin could react, Naruto's fist descended from above, obliterating the puppet's head and chest. But the body was no real flesh. It was a hollow construct of wood and metal, from which a hooded figure leapt a few meters away. "You destroyed my Haruko, it was one of my favorites," Sasori said, lowering his hood to reveal a youthful face. The two regarded each other silently for a moment, then the red-haired boy shook his head. "I was considering which puppet to use against you, but given your strength, I've decided to use them all." He removed the black robe concealing his body, revealing that he too was a puppet. "Including me, of course?" Without hesitation, he drew a scroll from his back. A series of rapid hand signs produced two small tubes from his palms. He aimed them at Naruto, launching twin waves of flame that seared the sand and engulfed the blonde swordsman. "This won't stop him for long, but it's enough to buy me time for my performance," Sasori thought, retrieving another scroll and unrolling it across his chest. The flames around Naruto began to wane as a succession of minor explosions erupted around him. Looking up, Sasori saw over 100 red-cloaked puppets surrounding him. Then his gaze shifted to the scrolls in his hands, each marked with kanji. One read "third," the other 8. "Now for my final pieces, the ones I value most," Sasori said with a small grin, disappearing in the smoke of twin detonations. Moments later, 5 figures emerged from the haze. The first, a dark-haired man in a black cloak, was unfamiliar to Naruto. The remaining 4 were recognizable. "You likely know most of them, but allow me to formally introduce the Sandaime Keizukage and Konoha's Team 8, Sasori said, gesturing to the black-haired man, then to Kiba, Akamaru, Shino, and Hinata's puppet forms. Placing his hand over his right eye, he formed a seal with his left, activating Hinata's Byakugan. When his hand dropped, his own eye was closed, with the kanji for eye etched on his eyelid. "It took months, but I've gained control over the Hyuga clan's famed Byakugan. Now I can see through my puppet's eyes," he explained, spinning chakra threads from his fingers to connect to his 5 puppets. "So, Naruto Uzumaki, ready for the show." Naruto's head was slightly bowed, hair shadowing his eyes, but his sword ignited, and Kurama sensed his intent clearly. Meanwhile, Sasori secretly activated the 4th scroll on his back, preparing a powerful water counterattack. "My orders are clear," Naruto said softly, lifting his head, fury burning in his gaze. "I must punish all who have been desecrated, but that doesn't mean I take joy in it. At first, I planned to end you quickly, brat, but now you deserve an example." He raised his flaming sword, yet as Sasori prepared to strike, the flames vanished, leaving him confused. In the ensuing silence, Naruto spoke one word. Though its meaning was unknown to him, Sasori felt a sudden, terrifying pressure in his chest. Bankai. And there we have it, all toxins removed, Haku said with a smile, watching Kankuro unconscious. He needs rest, but he should be fully recovered in a few days. I see. Thank you, Temari bowed, her worry evident. Not just for her brothers, but also for the mysterious technique Haku had used. This wasn't standard medical ninjutsu. What could it be? Her thought was cut short as an intense heat wave swept through the village. Temari fell to her knees, her throat dry, body scorched. What is happening? All around her, villagers struggled with the sudden heat, everyone except Haku, who calmly observed from a window. Luckily, the heat subsided within moments, replaced by black clouds. What now? Temari muttered, peering outside. A single raindrop hit the glass, then another, soon turning into a torrential downpour. Villagers gaped, many never having seen such weather. What happened? I think I know, Haku replied, surprising her. But we should move. We'll return with Gaara soon. With that, he vanished in a shunpo, leaving a bewildered Temari behind. With Naruto sheathed his sword as temperatures fell. The desert had turned to glass for miles, much of it melted by the power of his Bankai. Rain-dampened clothes dried quickly from the residual heat, but he paid it no mind, studying the remains of his opponent. I'm glad my powers remain intact after rebirth, Kurama murmured. Still, it's surprising anything survived. Sasori's body was wood and metal, after all. Indeed, only a partially melted metal skeleton remained. Naruto, familiar with its composition, recognized it immediately. Chakra metal. Chakra metal makes sense, Kurama nodded. Rare, but capable of withstanding Biju chakra. Its survival isn't shocking, just partial. Naruto scanned the area. Every Sasori puppet was destroyed, some partially fused. Closing his eyes, he sought his friends and remaining Akatsuki members. Opening them, he sighed. I expected more, but the world's children move slower than they think. With that, he vanished in a shunpo. With Deidara, I need to warn the others, Deidara thought, sweat dripping down his face. His clay bird sped toward the lair where Gaara's Ikibai extraction was underway. Moments after parting from Sasori, a monstrous heatwave hit, brief but intense. Deidara knew his partner was likely gone. This monster is beyond our reach. Perhaps only the leader could confront him, even Anoki would struggle. Tension eased slightly as the canyon entrance appeared. Inside, he could activate barriers to conceal his presence. But as he descended, Deidara froze, seeing, or rather realizing, what awaited him. There, perched on a small rock in front of an enormous boulder, Naruto sat with his sword's tip resting on the ground, both hands clasped over the hilt. His head leaned slightly forward, hiding his eyes from Deidara, yet the sheer power radiating from the former captain commander was palpable. Damn it! How did he get here before me? Deidara thought, noticing that Naruto hadn't reacted to his presence yet. Maybe Sasori exhausted him enough, and since I came quietly, he hasn't sensed me. Perfect. I can finish him here. Without hesitation, Deidara plunged both hands into the special pouches at his waist, pulling out hefty portions of white clay. Mouths on his palms began chewing the clay before spitting out a dozen tiny birds. After a steady breath, he hurled them toward Naruto, and instantly, his creations expanded to match the size of the massive bird he had been standing on. A smug smile spread across his face as the creations neared Naruto. With a single hand seal, he detonated them, triggering an explosion that rattled the surroundings. Not wanting to take chances, he crafted more clay monsters, repeating the process. For several seconds, the air was filled with successive blasts as the rogue ninja of Iwa used up all his clay. After a minute, he finally paused. Deidara unconsciously held his breath as smoke began to dissipate. When the dust cleared, his heart skipped a beat. Naruto remained untouched, encased in a faint, cube-shaped light barrier that vanished seconds later. What? No damage? Deidara panicked. Worse, Naruto hadn't moved at all, as if the attack hadn't even reached him. Is he mocking me? Then, using the special device on his left eye, he noticed subtle movement. Naruto's head dipped slightly before returning to its original position, repeating every few seconds. A vein throbbed on Deidara's forehead. He's sleeping. Is this some kind of joke? No matter how strong you are, I'll blow you up with my C4. At that moment, Naruto's eyes opened calmly, locking with Deidara's furious glare. I see you've finally arrived. Damn it, are you mocking my art with that sleeping act? Deidara shouted, but Naruto ignored him. You took longer than I expected. Deidara ground his teeth. I've been here for. His words were cut short as Haku appeared behind him, a faint smile on her lips, and sent his head spinning into the air with a precise sword slash. Forgive me, Naruto, Haku said with a small bow. Their attack harmed more than I anticipated, and I admit, I paused to admire the results of your Bankai. Naruto exhaled and stood, picking up Gaara. I see you've chosen Zabuza's method. Haku nodded, still smiling. Silent killing. That's what made him notorious as a Kiri shinobi. With all his memories, I decided to use the technique he had mastered. If I relied solely on your chakra, I probably wouldn't have noticed you coming, Naruto admitted. Let's go. Once he recovers, I'll talk to him about the glass expanse he must destroy to restore the desert. It shouldn't be difficult for him. Haku chuckled softly. Or he could fine you for damaging the desert. Naruto snorted and with a shunpo, disappeared alongside Haku, leaving Deidara's corpse behind, his face frozen in eternal rage. Konoha Minato set down the last document, sighing as he leaned back in his chair. The past few days had been tense. After Naruto announced his intentions during the festival, the reactions from both citizens and ninjas had been largely predictable. Most civilians begged Minato to stop Naruto by any means, a portion remained undecided, and a small fraction accepted their son's proposition. Minato could have intervened, but he refused to act like a tyrant, dictating how others lived. He had saved their lives once and would do it again, but if they chose otherwise, it was their decision. The same applied to the shinobi. Jiraiya's spies had reported sightings of Naruto in places like Taki and the Land of Waves, though they couldn't determine his purpose. Minato theorized that, as allies of Konoha in the past, Naruto was likely checking whether the resurrected existed there as well. A week had passed since Naruto's return, and roughly 100 people had vanished, though Minato already knew the cause. Hayashi entered, worry etched on his face, reporting that his wife, Hitomi, had disappeared, taking a small sum of money. Itachi's detailed report confirmed that she had bribed gate guards to let her pass unhindered. Minato grew uneasy when learning that Haku, whose identity Itachi confirmed, had fought evenly against the Uchiha leader, and that Tsukuyomi had no effect on her aside from angering her. Her sword's appearance was also concerning, though a quick check confirmed the Kubikirabacho remained in the Land of Waves, untouched for years. One bright note. Taki's leader reported that 2 Akatsuki members had perished while attempting to capture their village's Jinchuriki. The recent heatwave in Suna worried Minato, but Jiraiya's spies were still investigating. Hey, kid, I've got news about Suna, or so it seemed. Minato turned quickly to Jiraiya, who had just entered through the window. What did you find? Apparently, 2 Akatsuki attacked Suna to capture the Kazekage and extract the Ikibai. They succeeded partially, leaving many injured, Jiraiya said seriously. At dawn, Naruto arrived with Haku. While Naruto saved Gaara, Haku healed all the wounded at Tsunade-like speed. She's an exceptional healer, as expected, Minato noted. According to older reports, she once healed Zabuza using only local herbs. If she received a power boost like Naruto, her skills now rival or surpass Tsunade's, Jiraiya added. My spies couldn't determine the technique used, but the results were flawless. Minato nodded. And Naruto with the Kazekage. Less than an hour after leaving, Naruto returned with Gaara and Haku, who had finished healing, Jiraiya explained. Now, a few miles of desert are covered in glass, likely the source of the heatwave. Molten chakrametal skeletons suggest Sasori of the Red Sand perished there, though his companion's fate is unknown. Minato rubbed his tired eyes. Your assessment? Honestly, Naruto did the world a favor. Even with Itachi, we couldn't eliminate any Akatsuki members or discover new intel. Invading their village risks war, and without the Shinigami, we could be vulnerable, Jiraiya said. Naruto, however, likely eliminated 4 members, Sasori, Deidara, and the so-called zombie brothers. How do you know? From the scorched battlefield at Taki. Even if Kakuzu had used Katen Jutsu, he couldn't have caused that. Also, Taki's Jinchuriki is now in the Land of Waves, probably aided by Naruto, Jiraiya confirmed. Minato sighed. And training? Itachi has joined us and made progress. You and Kushina. We're working tirelessly on the most powerful seals possible, building on those controlling the Shinigami, Minato replied, gesturing to a map. Mito-sama departed with clan members for the land of whirlpools to search ancient archives. Good. They'll find something useful, Jiraiya said, just as a small toad burst from a cloud of smoke, delivering a scroll before vanishing with a farewell. News from your spies? Minato asked, eyebrow raised. Their special seals allowed instant communication with Mount Myaboku whenever safety permitted. Jiraiya raised his head from the scroll, his expression grave. We've located Naruto. Minato's eyes widened in surprise. Really? You're certain? Yes, Jiraiya confirmed. One of my informants spotted him traveling with Haku through a small town in the land of tea. Minato's face tightened with concern. The land of tea, but that area, Jiraiya nodded solemnly. Yes, some of our ninja were deployed there on a mission. I don't know how Naruto found them, but it seems he wiped them out entirely. Minato exhaled, a shadow of worry crossing his features. Perhaps it's because of the Dijutsu that Itachi mentioned, though we still don't fully understand its abilities. Jiraiya let out a heavy sigh as well. Even the special henge seals you devised couldn't fool those eyes, and now we've lost 8 shinobi, including 3 jonin. He paused, then asked the crucial question. What do you intend to do? Minato stared at his desk for a long moment in silence before pressing the intercom button. Yuki, contact Orochimaru. Tell him to come to my office immediately, along with Kabuto and the 5 gates. Stress that it's urgent. Right away, Hokage-sama. Jiraiya looked puzzled. You're planning to use them, Minato's expression hardened. Orochimaru has refined his cursed seal with our guidance. I intend to send the 5 gates, with Kabuto providing backup, to gather as much intel on Naruto as possible. Ideally, they'll stop him, but I also need Orochimaru to check whether the seals I plan to use will interfere with his own cursed seal. His voice grew firmer. I'll track their progress with the Tomgain no Jutsu so I can teleport them back to Konoha in case of emergency. Jiraiya nodded, then moved toward the window. I'll send for extra eyes. The more we see, the better we can gauge Naruto's capabilities. Thank you, Minato murmured. Alone, he gazed at a solitary picture of Naruto. I wish there were a way to set all of this right. Several miles from Kyusa, Naruto and Haku walked down a quiet road, heading toward Kyusa. Naruto had sensed the presence of several people who had been revived. Even as his younger self, he had the potential to be an exceptional sensor, and that ability had carried over into his new body. His experience with Reiatsu allowed him to concentrate and detect the auras of these reanimated individuals, similar to the energy of Shinigami, even from miles away. At that moment, he sensed 5 figures rapidly approaching, likely from Konoha. Haku, he said, alert. We have company. Moments later, 5 figures materialized a few meters ahead. Though calm, Naruto raised an eyebrow, recognizing the familiar faces. They were Orochimaru's bodyguards, whom he had encountered 8 years prior during the mission to retrieve Sasuke. Among them was the albino who fought with his bones. Their attire now resembled Konoha ANBU uniforms, with slight modifications, including the absence of masks. Well, this is unexpected, Naruto said evenly. Haku's eyes widened as she recognized Kimimaro from Zabuza's memories. I didn't imagine Minato would bring you back, though I probably should have guessed when I learned Orochimaru returned to Konoha. We are Orochimaru-sama's bodyguards, the 5 gates, Kimimaro said in his usual emotionless tone. Our mission is to stop you here before you harm any more Konoha ninja. Naruto tilted his head. Last I checked, you were the Sound 4. We've changed our name, idiot, Teuya snapped, glaring. Oi Teuya, don't provoke him. Look at what he did to Konoha, Kidomaru said cautiously. I don't care, Teuya shot back. He destroyed part of a mountain. Big deal. Over 30 villagers could do the same. The others sighed in exasperation. Kimimaro remained focused on Naruto, calm but resolute, while Haku and the former captain commander drew their swords in preparation. Since you've all been resurrected, I can't let you live, Naruto said coldly, eyes narrowing. I hope you're ready to die again. We will not fail. Orochimaru-sama's name cannot be disgraced by our defeat, Kimimaro stated, summoning two long bone blades from his palms. So be it. Naruto and Haku drew their swords as the five gates charged. But just before contact, both former Shinigami glanced upward, startled. Their opponents, confused, watched as Teuya yelled, "What are you looking at? Is there something above us? Are you idiots?" Teuya," Kitamaru said, pale-faced, trying to get her attention. Sakin grabbed her and forced her gaze upward. Her string of curses died instantly. A long black streak had appeared in the sky, seemingly from nowhere. Within moments, the heavens around it swelled and split, revealing a dark abyss beyond. Amid the astonished faces of the five gates and the now serious expressions of Naruto and Haku, a small group of figures walked toward the edge of the void. Despite their shock, the five gates could clearly hear Naruto's voice. "Arrancar,